Chapter 2006 Jian Wushuang's Value. Just as everyone was confused, Emperor Bai spoke again. No one knows what is in the dark millstone. Under such circumstances, the 4 members of the expert troop from Sanctuary Alliance have to be extremely careful. Jian Wushuang, you are an inverse cultivator and you have a unique ability that could be put to use. Besides, unlike the other 3, you are still in Sir God realm. There are many things that would be too obvious if the 3 great emperors were to do them in the dark millstone. So, you will have to do on their behalf. Understood, Jian Wushuang nodded. The other great emperors understood then too. It was true that Jian Wushuang was just a Sir God and he wouldn't catch so much attention as compared to the other 3 great emperors. Hence, it would be much more convenient for him to carry out some task. This crisis concerns the life and death of eternal chaotic world. Before such a crisis, everyone should prioritize the situation. Everyone here, including the experts under your control, have to put down all resentment. Do you understand? Emperor Bai looked around and intentionally lingered his gaze on Abysmal Saint Master for a while. Everyone knew that Abysmal Saint Master and Jian Wushuang were unhappy with one another and they had been in a fight before. Now, both of them were in the expert troop. If they were to have conflict, they would be in big trouble. Abysmal Saint Master noticed Emperor Bai's gaze and nodded heavily. Colored glaze, Emperor Bai spoke again. Mr. Emperor Bai, Great Emperor Colored Glaze stood up. The unique concealment skill that you obtained from the ancient battlefield is useful for the expert troop. Share it with the 4 of them, Emperor Bai commanded. Great Emperor Colored Glaze had a unique concealment skill. The concealment skill could reign in one's aura entirely without leaking any bit. If they were to perform this skill when they hid, even when a great emperor spread his soul power, he wouldn't be able to find them. It was absolutely the strongest concealment skill in Sanctuary Alliance. Such a skill was really useful for the expert troop. For instance, if the experts from Akron Palace and Holocaust Sect were to be hunting for them in the Dark Millstone, as long as they leave their sights and hide, the enemy could only dream of finding them. Sure, Great Emperor Colored Glaze didn't hesitate and agreed. Although she was the only one with the concealment skill, she knew her limits as the existence of eternal chaotic world was at stake. Jian Wushuang, Emperor Bai looked at Jian Wushuang again. Lineage of Stars' secret skill of Star Palace is powerful. Anyone who can cultivate it will have an extra trump card. The 4 of you should form expert troops to barge into the Dark Millstone. It is very dangerous. The 4 of you having an extra trump card will mean having another layer of defense. So, I hope you will share the secret skill of Star Palace as well. The secret skill of Star Palace? Jian Wushuang thought but instantly decided, sure. Although the secret skill of Star Palace was precious and it could even be described as the biggest trump card that Lineage of Star had. Eternal chaotic world was at the brink of extermination. If eternal chaotic world were to disappear, Lineage of Star naturally would go down altogether. Under such a situation, Jian Wushuang, of course, wouldn't be loath to share it. Forget about the fact that it was only for Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo and Emperor Zhu Qiao to inherit the secret skill of Star Palace. Even if Sanctuary Alliance wanted all experts in Eternal Chaotic World to inherit the secret skill in the end, he wouldn't hesitate. That's great. The 4 of you shall head back and get ready. Leave within 10 years' time, Emperor Bai said. Yes. Jian Wushuang, Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo and Emperor Zhu Qiao took the order. Jian Wushuang, stay back. The others can be dismissed too, Emperor Bai waved. Very soon, the great emperors left. Eternal chaotic world was facing such great danger. The great emperors who were the higher-ups in eternal chaotic world naturally came to the forefront and they had to be prepared at their fastest speed. They would collaborate with the 4 members expert troop who would barge into the Dark Millstone from within with force so they could destroy the Dark Millstone. In the spacious presbytery pavilion, there was only Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai. Actually, in the beginning, Red Dragon and Tian Chen recommended that Zishu should go. After all, not only is Zishu powerful, he has many skills. He would be helpful to the 4 members expert troop. In the end, I chose you. Jian Wushuang, you should know the reason behind this. Emperor Bai looked at Jian Wushuang. Yes, it's because of the defensive power of an inverse cultivator, Zhen Wushuang replied. Yes, Emperor Bai smiled faintly, an inverse cultivator is ridiculously amazing. The unique capability of one on the 7th step of inverse cultivation. The others might not know it, but you and I are both inverse cultivators, and we know clearly that it means that the perfect chaotic divine body is almost immortal. With such power, you will be even more useful than Zishu in the 4 members expert troupe. Zhen Wushuang looked cold. Perfect chaotic divine body, even when his divine body collapsed entirely, it could be reorganized as long as his divine power was sufficient. Although Zhen Wushuang had only reached the 1st stage and the divine power that he possessed was only enough to reorganize his divine body 4 times, he couldn't be truly defined as unrivaled. However, in terms of defensive power or his ability to suffer a beating, only Emperor Bai from Sanctuary Alliance was stronger than him. Mr. Emperor Bai, don't worry. I will give my all in the trip into the Dark Millstone, but as for Abysmal Saint Master, Zhen Wushuang frowned. Don't worry too much about Abysmal Saint Master. I know him well enough. He is arrogant and easily jealous. In simpler terms, he is narrow-minded and he couldn't take anyone stronger than him. However, he knows what's right and what's wrong. In the trip into the Dark Millstone, he wouldn't cause you any trouble, nor will he scheme against you because he himself knows that it's extremely dangerous for the 4 of you to barge in. If you die in there will be no benefit to him at all, Emperor Bai reassured him. Millimeter. All right then, Zhen Wushuang nodded. With his current power and skills, he wasn't afraid of Abysmal Saint Master, nor was he worried that he was being schemed against. However, the mission was no trivial matter. Zhen Wushuang didn't wish for unnecessary trouble that would affect the success or failure of the mission. Oh yeah, I have an elixir here. I prepared it for you. This is also the reason I made you stay back, Emperor said, and he flipped his wrist. He took out a white elixir that was the size of a pigeon egg. There was only one elixir, but it gave out a tempting fragrance. It instantly filled the entire Presbytery Pavilion. If there were other experts in Presbytery Pavilion, it absolutely would stir their greed. Chapter 2007 7 Treasure Divine Elixir. Mr. Emperor Bai, this is. Zhen Wushuang looked at the elixir in Emperor Bai's hand. He could feel that the elixir was unusual. Even he couldn't help but felt greed in him the moment he saw the elixir. This is 7 Treasure Divine Elixir, Emperor Bai smiled. I got this elixir by sheer luck a long time ago. It was in the first era when I was wandering in the ancient battlefield. I found 5 in total and I am only left with 2 now. This elixir is amazing. Even in ancient times, it was considered a top-grade item. Many experts in ancient times, including those existences above Great Emperor, would use this elixir at crucial times. After consuming this elixir, the super experts who were above Great Emperor could recover their divine power instantly. To inverse cultivators like us, it is shockingly useful. You know that we inverse cultivators could constantly fuel our divine body as long as we had enough divine power. Even if I consume this 7 Treasure Divine Elixir, it could instantly recover more than an ordinary level of divine power. To you who are only in the 1st stage, your divine power could be instantly recovered after you consume this elixir. Zhen Wushuang was delighted when he heard that. His divine power could be instantly recovered when he consumed the elixir. It was considered another life to an ordinary cultivator, but to an inverse cultivator, it was even more useful. His current divine power enabled him to reorganize his divine body for 4 times, which meant 4 extra lives. With the addition of 7 Treasure Divine Elixir, his divine body could be reorganized 8 times. Just how amazing was that? The elixir is what I prepared for your troupe. But among the 4 members in the troupe who are going to enter the Dark Millstone, only you can give full play to the power of this elixir. So, I am giving it to you. Emperor Bai passed the 7 Treasure Divine Elixir to Zhen Wushuang. Thank you, Emperor Bai. Zhen Wushuang quickly thanked him. Everything is for eternal chaotic world. Go ahead and get ready, Emperor Bai waved. Zhen Wushuang left then. There was only Emperor Bai left in Presbytery Pavilion. Emperor Bai watched Zhen Wushuang as he disappeared at the end, and there was a strange light twinkling in his eyes. In actual fact, He had arranged for Zhen Wushuang to go into the Dark Millstone not only because Zhen Wushuang would be helpful to the troop, but because there was also another reason. Emperor Bai wanted Zhen Wushuang to receive greater training. It was about time for eternal chaotic world. It at most had another 1,000 years to go. By then, the two dark forces would definitely incite war. In merely 1,000 years, Zhen Wushuang wouldn't improve much with ordinary training. Hence, he had to be sent for polishing. Zhen Wushuang immediately started to make arrangements when he returned to Greenfire World. No one knew what would happen in the Dark Millstone. Zhen Wushuang wasn't even sure if he could come out alive. Hence, Zhen Wushuang naturally had to make the necessary arrangements. In the lofty palace. Father, after I leave, you shall take over the great formation that merged with Spacetime Storm. As for those Dao soldiers, Hall Master Yuan and you can work together to take care of them. If there is any problem in Greenfire World can discuss with Lineage of Star. Jian Yi, stay back in Greenfire World to serve as a deterrent to other experts. Hall Master Yuan, Zhen Wushuang passed down the tasks one by one. Everyone who was seated in the hall looked extremely solemn. They all knew that Zhen Wushuang was going to a dangerous place and it was hard to predict his life and death. Third brother. Do you have to go no matter what? Wang Yuan looked at him. No matter what, Zhen Wushuang nodded. This is not only for eternal chaotic world, it is also for Greenfire World. This crisis concerns the life and death of eternal chaotic world. If we fail, the entire eternal chaotic world will vanish. Greenfire World naturally won't exist either. Hence, all experts in eternal chaotic world will be obligated. Zhen Wushuang was determined. Everyone around him saw his determination and didn't pursue further. Then, Zhen Wushuang began to prepare for his trip into the Dark Millstone. Although 10 years' time wasn't long, at least he was given some time to prepare himself. It's a pity that the Dark Millstone appeared all of a sudden and a little too early. If it had appeared a little later, by about 100 years, I would be able to cultivate the ancient tribe's first volume of immemorial celestial body. By then, my divine body and my divine power would improve again. Regardless of if it was my overall power or my defensive power, both would improve tremendously. Then, I would be even more confident in surviving. It's a pity. Zhen Wushuang found it a regrettable matter, but he had no alternatives. The crisis had descended and he had to deal with it. In 10 years' time, Great Emperor Colored Glaze had passed the 4 of them the concealment skill. Besides, Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo and Emperor Zhu Qiao had made a trip to Greenfire World one after another, and they had received the inheritance of secret skill of Star Palace in Lineage of Star. Although the 3 Great Emperor had received the perfect inheritance of the secret skill of Star Palace, the 3 of them could only perform the first volume, no matter how hard they tried. It was impossible for them to even perform the second volume. It seemed that only Zhen Wushuang and the Star Palace Master, who had already passed away, had cultivated the second volume successfully in the entire eternal chaotic world. Star Palace Master had once absorbed the blood essence of an expert from 7 Star Black sect, but Zhen Wushuang. It was smooth sailing for his cultivation. Not to mention the second volume, he had already cultivated the third volume successfully. Of course, even the first volume itself would be a great trump card for the 3 Great Emperors. It was a pity that the trump card would require a long time until it could be performed the next time again. Hence, they didn't dare to use it recklessly. 10 years passed by very quickly. Zhen Wushuang was well prepared and he handed down all the tasks. Then, he left. In eternal chaotic world, in the boundless dark void. It was still extremely far from the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. In the dark void then, there was a huge black steel ball that was far bigger than the size of a holy kingdom spinning and traveling forward. Everywhere it passed would vanish. There was no space for struggle. In the dark void near the Dark Millstone, swoosh, 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 there were a few figures that appeared simultaneously. The higher-ups from Sanctuary Alliance, led by Emperor Bai, Red Dragon King, Ancestor Tianchen and the others were there. Of course, Zhen Wushuang, Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo, Emperor Zhu Qiao were there too. Their gazes were fixed upon the huge black steel ball before them. Chapter 2008 Barge in. This is the Dark Millstone? Everyone looked astonished. Previously, they had only seen the Dark Millstone through the mirror image, and the mirror image hadn't shown the entire scene. Plus, 10 years had passed. The size of the Dark Millstone had grown bigger significantly. The speed of growth of this Dark Millstone is shocking. Its power is constantly growing stronger too. We have to destroy it at our fastest possible speed, Ancestor Tian Chen said in a deep voice. Don't delay anymore. The four of you, are you ready? Emperor Bai looked at the four of them. Jian Wushuang, Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo and Emperor Zhu Qiao exchanged a look and nodded solemnly. Emperor Bai squinted his eyes and then took out a transparent pearl. The transparent pearl contained a grayish mysterious power and there was faint lighting flashing within. This is. Jian Wushuang was surprised. He had seen this transparent pearl before. XXX was used to break formation or prohibition. A long time ago, when Jian Wushuang had yet to leave Green Fire World, they took out XXX when they fought with Jin Kingdom. However, the power of the XXX that they had taken out back then and the one Emperor Bai was holding was vastly different. This is the top-grade XXX from ancient times. XXX of this level can forcefully tear an opening in the Great Formation, no matter how powerful it is. However, the opening will only last for a split second. The four of you have to seize the chance to get inside. Yes, the four of them nodded. Emperor Bai took action. He drove the pearl with his divine power and he threw it at the huge dark millstone that was spinning. The moment the XXX appeared on the surface of the dark millstone, there was a dim light on the dark millstone. The dim light looked extremely mysterious but powerful. As the XXX exploded, a terrifying power exploded too. It tore everything and the dim light tore a gap big enough for a person to pass through. Right now, there was a flash of light in Emperor Bai's eyes. Let's go. Abysmal Saint Master roared. Then, the four of them who were ready long ago plunged through the gap without hesitation and disappeared behind the gap. The gap immediately vanished right after they plunged through. They are in. Emperor Bai and the rest waited in the void outside the dark millstone and all of them looked solemn. They didn't know what was in the dark millstone, nor did they know what Jian Wushuang and the troop would encounter. However, because they didn't know, someone had to step forth to find out. I hope that the four of them will return from the dark millstone alive, Ancestor Tian Chen said. They not only have to walk out alive, more importantly, they also have to collaborate with us to destroy this dark millstone. Otherwise, if the dark millstone continues to spin, it will be only a matter of time until we all die, Red Dragon King said in a deep voice. The surrounding great emperors heard and nodded simultaneously in agreement. They knew the responsibility that the four members carried. It could be said that they were a crucial factor if Eternal Chaotic World could survive the crisis. The four of them carry a heavy responsibility. The other experts outside the dark millstones are equally important too. We can't be careless, Emperor Bai said. Yes, the surrounding great emperor's gazes were cold. In the huge, dark millstones, Jian Wushuang and the others went through the gap and appeared within a huge formation. This great formation is complicated. Not only does it have the powerful defense power on its exterior, there are also many prohibitions internally. Emperor Zhu Qiao's face grew grave. Ji Luo, you're the best at the manipulation of spacetime power and you're the best among the four of us in formation. Hurry up and lead us out of this prohibition, Abysmal Saint Master said. I'll try. Great Emperor Ji Luo looked solemn. She walked at the front while Abysmal Saint Master, Jian Wushuang and Emperor Zhu Qiao followed behind her. Jian Wushuang, Abysmal Saint Master suddenly looked at Jian Wushuang as they traveled forward. Although you and I had a conflict, this is no trivial matter. I hope you draw a clear distinction between private and public interests. I hope you will follow my instructions. Don't worry. As long as you do not scheme against me, or are obviously sending me to death, I naturally will follow your instructions, Jian Wushuang replied coldly. Good. Abysmal Saint Master glanced at Jian Wushuang again but didn't say anything more. Just as the four of them entered the dark millstone and traveled forward in the prohibition, in the depth of the dark millstone. There were 3 lofty thrones towering in the boundless dark void. Lung Rushue, the savage man, and the blurry, bloody man sat there. In front of them, there was a man in a black robe who knelt down politely. Misters, I have already located the location of the few people who barged in via the Great Formation. However, they are extremely powerful and they have already broken through the strongest obstacle. Although there are some prohibitions in front of them, it will be impossible to kill or even block them, the man in the black robe reported. If prohibitions won't kill them, why not send a few experts to kill them? The savage man spoke with a bright void. Sure, but judging by their travel speed, they would have definitely passed the prohibited range and appeared in our world by the time our experts arrive. In other words, we can't kill them before they enter the world, the man in the black robe said. The savage man's expression grew in distress. If the few of them were to really enter the world, there would be many secrets about the world that would be exposed. Forget it. It is only a matter of time until they are exposed. Which territory will they appear in after they pass the prohibition? The savage man asked. Looking at their current location, they should appear near Silver-Winged God Mansion, the man in the black robe replied. Silver-Winged God Mansion? The blurry, bloody man looked down. As we can lock onto their location, send experts over immediately. Kill them at the fastest possible speed. It'd be best if it happens before they receive any information about this world or even share the information before they die. Ling Zong is near Silver-Winged God Mansion, right? Tell him to rush over. With him there, these few people won't even think about fleeing. Humph. Want to resolve this grand formation from within and destroy this world entirely. Dream on. Yes, the man in black took the command and sent it down immediately. Jian Wushuang and the others weren't aware that they were being watched since the very moment they entered the Dark Millstone. Chapter 2009 Three Emperors' World. In the boundless void, a boundless stretch of blue sky with white clouds. At the very end of the void, burble. The void was distorted, then there were 4 figures that came out. We're out. We are finally out. Jian Wushuang, Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo, Emperor Zhu Qiao let out a breath of relief. They were in a region covered under prohibitions earlier and they had to keep their guards up. They didn't dare to let loose at all. Until then, they finally walked out from the region covered under prohibitions. This is. The 4 of them looked at the surrounding void in shock. Everything they saw was peaceful. It was entirely different from the dark millstone that was constantly spinning and destroying everything on the outside. As expected, there is something different inside, Jian Wushuang muttered. Could there be a territory for human cultivators in the dark nirvana? Emperor Zhu Qiao creased his eyebrows and asked. The dark millstone is so huge. The moment it appeared, it was already of the size of a holy kingdom. With such a great size, it isn't strange for there to be human cultivators, Abysmal Saint Master replied. Let's go, let's search around. Jian Wushuang nodded faintly. Then, the 4 of them started searching the region. When they were searching, they realized that the universe that they were in had great cultivation environment. Although it couldn't compare favorably with Green Fire World, it was slightly stronger than the 10 cultivation sanctuaries in Eternal Chaotic World. In no time, they saw a city in which humans resided. The city was quite big and there were countless human cultivators. The 4 of them stood in the void near the city and they concealed their auras. Great Emperor Colored Glaze's conceal skill is pretty good. When we use this, even a Great Emperor might not be able to find us if they pass by, Great Emperor Ji Luo said. It is great if we use it when we are hiding. If we are in front of our enemy, they will be able to tell our realm at first glance, Emperor Zhu Qiao said. The 3 of us are great emperors and we are too eye-catching. This soul-probing mission will be yours then, Abysmal Saint Master looked at Jian Wushuang. Sure, Jian Wushuang didn't refuse. He immediately spread his soul power. In an instant, he covered the entire city before him. The cultivators in the city appeared in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Oh! Jian Wushuang looked surprised. The quality of the cultivators in the Dark Millstone is quite high. Many of the cultivators in this city are close to universe god level and there are many real gods too. However, the strongest among them was only a chaotic real god. Chaotic real God. That's too weak. We wouldn't get any valuable information from him. Let's search further. The cultivation environment here is so great, there must be many almighties. Let's figure out a way to find one, Abysmal Saint Master said. The other three nodded in agreement. The four of them didn't stay in the city but immediately continued to search the border of the city. Before long, the four of them had found the first Almighty in the Dark Millstone. The Almighty was merely a Sir God, and he was also in the city. In a tall pavilion. A middle-aged man in a black robe sat there with his eyes closed while he enjoyed a glass of wine in his hands. Suddenly, swoosh, there was a figure that appeared behind the middle-aged man in a black robe without any sign. Who is it? The middle-aged man in a black robe was shocked and instantly kept his guard up. As he turned, he saw a young man in a crimson robe with a sword smiling at him. I have something that I'd like to ask you. I hope you can answer me with full honesty, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. The middle-aged man in a black robe noticed that Jian Wushuang's aura was only an early-stage chaotic realm, Sir God, level. He became less vigilant. However, his face became cold. Humph. Although I don't know who you are, aren't you too rude to question me? Rude. Jian Wushuang rubbed his nose and the next moment, Hong, there was a bolt of terrifying divine might that pressed on the middle-aged man in a black robe. The middle-aged man in a black robe was originally pissed off at Jian Wushuang's rude intrusion and tone, but the pressing of the divine might shook him. He was even shivering in fear. Such divine might. Middle-stage chaotic realm, or at least peak middle-stage chaotic realm. He might even be at the peak of chaotic realm. My goodness. The middle-aged man in a black robe was astonished and he looked terrified. Now, do you still think that I'm rude? Jian Wushuang smiled. Master of Double Dragon Region, Tian Xingzi greets Mr. Go ahead and ask me any questions. I will tell you everything I know, the middle-aged man in a black robe said politely. As expected. No matter which part of the world I am in, power speaks for itself. It is as such an eternal chaotic world, and the same applies to the internal world inside the Dark Millstone. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows as he began to question. He naturally asked questions about the universe. The middle-aged man in a black robe, also the master of Double Dragon Region, Tian Xingzi answered frankly. Then, Jian Wushuang finally had a basic understanding of the universe. The universe that he was in was a big world. A completely huge world that existed for a very long time. The big world was named Three Emperors' World. The name was said to derive from the legend whereby there were three experts that appeared in the world before, and the three experts were referred to as the Three Emperors. Over the years, they were worshipped by countless experts in the world. The myth said that Three Emperors' World was made by the Three Emperors. As time flew past, the Three Emperors were nowhere to be seen. The layout of the Three Emperors' World was very clear too. The territories were segregated into three different levels. The first level, which was the base, was called a region. Region could also be explained as territories. In a region, there would be cities in various sizes and also countless cultivators. In every region, there would be a master that was widely acknowledged. The masters of the region were mostly experts of an early-stage chaotic realm, also known as Sir God level in Eternal Chaotic World. Above region, there was God Mansion. Legend said that there was a total of 1,300 regions in Three Emperor World. The 1,300 regions formed 84 God Mansions. Each God Mansion ruled over 10 regions, and every God Mansion had a master as well. The master of God Mansion was normally an expert in middle-stage chaotic realm, also known as Emperor God in Eternal Chaotic World. Chapter 2010 The Master of Silver-Winged God Mansion. Above God Mansion was State. The biggest territory in Three Emperor World would be State. A state conquered 7 God Mansion. Hence, the 84 God Mansions were under 12 states. Every state would have a supreme leader. According to Tian Xingzi, the leader of the state would be one who reached peak chaotic realm level. 12 state leaders, 84 master of God Mansions, 1,300 regions. Jian Wushuang was astonished at the piece of information that he retrieved. He wanted to know more information from Tian Xingzi, such as the secret of the world. The world was in the huge, dark millstone that destroyed everything. There was definitely a great secret. It was a pity that what Tian Xingzi knew was limited. He who was only a master of a region, an ordinary early-stage chaotic realm, naturally wouldn't qualify to know much about the secret of Three Emperors' world. Double Dragon region is under which god mansion? Who is the master? And how can I find the master? Jian Wushuang asked. Mr. Double Dragon region is in Silver-Winged God Mansion. Tian Xingzi immediately replied. After finding out everything that he needed to know. Swoosh. Suddenly, a sword light slashed and chopped Tian Xingzi's head directly. Jian Wushuang was an outsider and he only asked Tian Xingzi the general questions about Three Emperors' world. Tian Xingzi definitely would find him suspicious. Hence, he naturally couldn't stay alive. The moment Tian Xingzi died. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. There were three figures that appeared next to Jian Wushuang and they were naturally Abysmal Saint Master and the other two members. Did you hear that? Jian Wushuang looked at the three of them. Their expressions were extremely solemn. 8,300 regions. Every master of a region would be a Sir God. In other words, there would be a total of 1,300 Sir God experts. Now, there are 84 masters of God Mansion, which are 84 Emperor God experts. Lastly, the 12 state leaders, which are 12 great emperors. Great Emperor Ji Luo couldn't help but be astonished, so powerful. The Three Emperors' world is so powerful. They are very powerful, even Abysmal Saint Master nodded in agreement. These region masters, God Mansion masters and state leaders are merely those with titles. In Three Emperors' worlds that is so huge, it is impossible that all experts take up the position as the masters or leaders. There definitely are more experts that we don't know of. If all of them add up, I am afraid that their power wouldn't be any weaker than Eternal Chaotic World. Jian Wushuang and Emperor Zhu Qiao frowned. The Three Emperors' world was really powerful. They could compare favorably with Eternal Chaotic World and they might even be more powerful. It was absolutely not plain guess, but it was really possible. There is a dark millstone that destroyed everything on the outside. There is Three Emperors' world with many high-standard cultivators and experts on the inside. The four of them looked in distressed. Regardless, let's report the information here to Emperor Bai first, Abysmal Saint Master said. Yes, Emperor Zhu Qiao nodded. After they entered Three Emperors' world, their connection with the outside world was sealed off. Regardless of if it were a communication token or consciousness reincarnation, they couldn't work. However, Emperor God Zhu Qiao could use his doppelganger to stay connected to Sanctuary Alliance. It was also the reason why Emperor Zhu Qiao was one of the 4 members in the expert troupe. In Eternal Chaotic World, in the void near the Dark Millstone, there was a lofty palace towering there. The palace maintained the same traveling speed as the Dark Millstone. In the palace, Emperor Zhu Qiao's doppelganger was seated there. He reported whatever he knew about Three Emperor worlds after he entered the Dark Millstone. When he finished, the surrounding great emperors were solemn. Too powerful. Red Dragon King spoke first. From the region master, God Mansion masters and the 12 state leaders that we know of, their fighting power of almighty level could compete against Sanctuary Alliance. If taking those experts who didn't take up the post into consideration, the power of Three Emperors' world absolutely wouldn't be any weaker than the forces in Eternal Chaotic World combined. If Holocaust Sect and Akron Palace have hidden power, the surrounding people became quiet. The silence went on for a while until Emperor Bai finally spoke. Three Emperors' world might be very strong, but we couldn't determine if the experts in Three Emperors' worlds would come out to fight a life-and-death war against Eternal Chaotic World. Moreover, if they were to turn out in full strength, Eternal Chaotic World could still gather all forces to compete. But the most crucial part is still the Dark Millstone. If the Dark Millstone doesn't stop, no preparation or skills will be of use, no matter how many experts we have or how powerful they are. Everyone nodded. That was true. The Dark Millstone was the crucial part. Only when the Dark Millstone was completely destroyed or stopped would the Eternal Chaotic World would stand a chance to live. As for within the Dark Millstone, the experts from Three Emperors' world weren't the ones that they needed to deal with. Zhu Qiao. Emperor Bai looked at Emperor Ju Qiao's doppelganger. Tell Abysmal Saint Master to find the truth behind the Three Emperors world. It is impossible that such a powerful world wouldn't carry any core secret. The region master that they questioned earlier was probably too weak and isn't qualified to know them. Tell them to slowly go up by ranking and find a stronger God Mansion Master and to state leader. They have to unearth the secret of the world. And they have to speed up and not delay any further. Yes. Emperor Ju Qiao nodded solemnly. Emperor Ju Qiao's doppelganger shared the message to the expert troop who was far in Three Emperors' world. They received the message that Emperor Bai conveyed. Go up by ranking? Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes. I already found out where the silver-winged God Mansion Master resided from Tian Xingzi. The God Mansion Master is an Emperor God-level expert. He definitely knows more things than Tian Xingzi. Millimeter, let's head to look for the silver-winged God Mansion Master, Abysmal Saint Master agreed. The four of them immediately departed according to the route that Tian Xingzi provided earlier. They traveled in the direction where the silver-winged God Mansion Master resided. However, the four of them didn't know that when they plunged in the direction of the Master of Silver-Winged God Mansion, there were a few figures that were traveling to the residence of Silver-Winged God Mansion Master in the faraway void. The few figures were soaring with a terrifying aura. Especially a bald man, who was only about 5'3". Although the bald man was shorter, his body was extremely muscular. His aura was the strongest and his rage was also the most ferocious among all. His name was Ling Zong, but he had a nickname, Beast. Chapter 2011 Interrogation. Silver-Winged God Mansion Master, one of the 84 God Mansion Masters in Three Emperors' world, ruled a large territory. This is where Silver-Winged God Mansion Master stay? In the boundless void above, Jian Wushuang and the other three members stood side by side. At the end of their sights, there were buildings on the mountain peak. There was a large number of palaces and pavilions towering there. There was a huge and magnificent estate above them all. According to the information they got from the Master of Double Dragon region, Silver-Winged God Mansion Master stayed in the estate. Jian Wushuang spread his soul power and sensed the existence of Silver-Winged God Mansion Master. Ji Luo, I shall leave the surrounding spacetime to you. Abysmal Saint Master took a look at Great Emperor Ji Luo. Don't worry, I will seal off the surrounding spacetime entirely to ensure Silver-Winged God Mansion Master couldn't send out any information, Great Emperor Ji Luo said. She was best at controlling spacetime. When she performs spacetime seal, even an ordinary Great Emperor couldn't send out a message in a short time, let alone Silver-Winged God Mansion Master, who was only an Emperor God. Hee. Silver-Winged God Mansion Master is raging in anger. Jian Wushuang looked at the faraway estate with interest. If so, let us meet Silver-Winged God Mansion Master then. Abysmal Saint Master sounded cold. The four of them immediately moved. In the estate before them, there was a malicious-looking man in silver armor. His eyes were shimmering with silver light as he overlooked a bunch of people standing below him. His rage was spread across ruthlessly. Humph, Region Master Tian Xin has gut. Didn't he know about the relationship between Mu Yong family and me? How could he just watch as Mu Yong family got bullied by Su family? The malicious-looking man in silver armor, Silver-Winged God Mansion Master, roared like a raging lion. There was a fragile maiden lying in Silver-Winged God Mansion Master's arms. The maiden was beautiful and her body was charming. She was absolutely a seductress. Then, she was speaking with a captivating voice. God Mansion Master, not only did Region Master Tian Xin watch as Mu Yong family was bullied by Su family, I also heard that he received benefits from Su family. The reason why Su family could be doing better than my Mu Yong family is because of Region Master Tian Xin. There's such a thing. Silver-Winged God Mansion Master was angry. He roared, send Region Master Tian Xin a message. Tell him I give him a month's time for him to send over the head of the family head of Su family personally. If he can't do it, I will take his head personally. Yes, the people standing below nodded in horror and they quickly left. Beauty, don't worry. I am here. In Silver-Winged God Mansion, no one would dare to bully your Mu Yong family. Silver-winged God Mansion Master smiled maliciously as his eyes burned with lust when he looked at the seductress. "Thank you, God Mansion Master," the charming maiden replied with her captivating voice again. Then she chuckled. She just started chuckling and she suddenly stopped. There was a flash of terror in the charming maiden's eyes. Then, her body instantly slouched. It was obvious that her consciousness had been exterminated. "Who?" Silver-winged God Mansion Master was angry. He was then soaring with rage and immediately spread his boundless murderous intention. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. There were 4 figures that substantiated before Silver-winged God Mansion Master from nowhere. Silver-winged God Mansion Master, who was originally soaring with murderous intention, was dumbfounded when he saw the 4 of them. As they stood face to face, he could see the aura that the 4 of them spread. Among the 4 of them, besides the young man carrying a sword on his back was in early-stage chaotic realm, the other 3's auras had already reached a level that made him quiver in fear. Peak chaotic realm, experts in peak chaotic realm, and there are 3 of them. Silver-winged God Mansion Master was shocked too. He immediately bowed at the people before him and said politely, "Yin Yi greets 3 misters." He only bowed at the 3 of them, Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo and Emperor Ju Qiao. As for Jian Wushuang, he didn't bother. "Silver-winged God Mansion Master, you are living a great life." Abysmal Saint Master smiled maliciously. He stole a glance at the cold dead body on the floor. The dead body naturally belonged to the charming beauty. The charming beauty was Silver-winged God Mansion Master's favorite woman. The moment the charming beauty died, the rage burning in his eyes showed. However, Silver-winged God Mansion Master wasn't angry at all. Murderous intention and anger were nowhere to be seen. He looked in reverence as though the person who just died had nothing to do with him. "I wonder how can I help you?" Silver-winged God Mansion Master asked politely. "Let me ask you." "Reply to me honestly," Abysmal Saint Master said coldly. "Mister, go ahead and ask." Silver-winged God Mansion Master was so passionate. Abysmal Saint Master asked, and it was naturally about 3 Emperors World. Such as the layout of 3 Emperor World and the secret that some experts and ordinary cultivators didn't know. After some questioning, Silver-winged God Mansion Master's reply was about the same as the Master of Double Dragon Region, Tian Xingzi. "Silver-winged God Mansion Master, you are a God Mansion Master. It's impossible that you only know all these, right? For instance, don't you know any secret about 3 Emperor World?" Abysmal Saint Master asked coldly. Silver-winged God Mansion Master felt a tug at his heartstrings. He saw the few of them earlier and subconsciously thought that the 3 of them were in peak chaotic realm and should be the leaders of the 12 states. However, from Abysmal Saint Master's interrogation, he could tell that the 4 of them seemed to be rather unfamiliar with 3 Emperors World. How could a state leader be so unfamiliar with 3 Emperors World? Why would they come to ask him such questions? There was no doubt that the few people in front of him were from an unusual origin. Although Silver-winged God Mansion Master was shocked, he remained composed when he said, "You must be joking. I am merely one of the God Mansion Masters. How am I qualified to know any core secrets of 3 Emperors World? Besides, even if I did know, how much more would I know compared to you 3 misters?" The 4 of them exchanged a look and smiled. "Silver-winged God Mansion Master is really good at talking. I think I will need to pull some tricks, then you will be willing to tell me the truth," Abysmal Saint Master said coldly. "Tricks?" Silver-winged God Mansion Master looked surprised. Then, Abysmal Saint Master's gaze became cold and the dark light in his body poured out and covered the entire estate. The entire estate was engulfed in boundless darkness. In the boundless darkness, Abysmal Saint Master was the ruler. Chapter 2012 Arrival. In the boundless darkness. There was a flash of lights in Abysmal Saint Master's eyes. Then, there was instantly a darkness storm that covered the body of Silver-winged God Mansion Master. Abysmal Saint Master had already started using his way to question Silver-winged God Mansion Master forcefully while Jian Wushuang and the other 2 members watched. However, just as the 4 of them were questioning Silver-winged God Mansion Master, there were 6 figures that arrived simultaneously in the void near the estate. The 6 of them were 4 males and 2 females. They were led by a brawny, bald man who was only 5'3". The space-time in front of us is completely sealed off. No wonder Silver-Winged God Mansion Master didn't respond even when I sent him a message personally, a scrawny elder dressed in black said. The elder in black was the state leader where Silver-Winged God Mansion was located. It seems like we are slightly late. It is impossible for us to set up a trap ahead of time. We can only fight against them head-on and kill all of them, an old lady in a red robe said with a cold voice. She looked around and asked, "Have you gone through the information of the 4 intruders?" Of course, the others nodded beside the brawny, bald man. Among the 4 of them, Abysmal Saint Master is the most powerful one. As for the other 3, their power is more ordinary. There is even one who is only in early stage chaotic realm. With our team formation, it shouldn't be easy for us to kill them, the old lady in a red robe said. Don't belittle the early stage chaotic realm. It was a hoarse voice. The one who spoke was the bald man. Then, there was a malicious smile in the corner of his lips. He added in a deep voice, according to the information we have, this person who is named Sword Emperor in early stage chaotic realm, his true fighting power is not any weaker than a peak chaotic realm. To be able to match against peak chaotic realm in early stage chaotic realm level, all of us do not have the same power. The other 5 nodded at the bald man's remark. They didn't belittle Sword Emperor though. If Jian Wushuang and his members were to hear their conversation, they would be surprised. Because not only did they know how many of them would barge into 3 Emperor World, but they also know who the people were. On top of that, they obtained information about the 4 of them long ago. One should know that only the great emperors in Sanctuary Alliance knew which 4 were going to be members of the expert troop to barge into the Dark Millstone. However, the people behind the Dark Millstone obviously knew, and they knew in detail. All right. Let's not waste time. Let's do it. I will set up a great formation around here so they couldn't escape. However, there's one among them who is good at spacetime skill. She should be able to flee from my formation if she is given enough time. Hence, you have to fight a quick battle, the old lady in a red robe said. Millimeter, the others nodded. The few of you go ahead first. I will take a look. The bald man was the only one who smiled maliciously. The other 5 had no comment about that. Swoosh. The 5 figures moved simultaneously. In the magnificent estate, the Silver-Winged God Mansion Master looked terrified and hopeless. He stood there as his gaze became empty gradually. Although he was in middle stage chaotic realm, also an Emperor God level expert, he wouldn't last long before the fighting power of 4 Great Emperor alone, especially when Abysmal Saint Master pulled some magical tricks. He presented everything that he knew on a silver platter. Jian Wushuang and his troop finally received a piece of important information from Silver-Winged God Mansion Master. It was the existence of the Imperial Cabinet. 3 Emperors' World had broad territories, 12 states, 84 God Mansions, and 1,300 regions. It was already well known. But in actual fact, on the top of the pyramid in 3 Emperors' World wasn't the 12 states but the Imperial Cabinet. The Imperial Cabinet was the true ruler of 3 Emperors' World. It equaled a monarch of an ordinary kingdom. However, the Imperial Cabinet had hidden all along but not shown in public. In 3 Emperors' World, only those experts on the peak of the world were qualified to know the existence of the Imperial Cabinet. For example, the 12 state leaders and the 84 God Mansion Masters knew about the Imperial Cabinet. However, there were extremely few experts among the 1,300 region masters who were qualified to know that. Double Dragon region master that they found previously was ordinary. Hence, he wasn't qualified to know the existence of the Imperial Cabinet. According to Silver-Winged God Mansion Master, the Imperial Cabinet controls everything in 3 Emperors' World. For instance, the post of the 84 God Mansion Masters and 1,300 region masters have to be approved by the Imperial Cabinet. As for the 12 state leaders, although they were Great Emperor level experts, they have to receive orders from the Imperial Cabinet. In other words, the Imperial Cabinet is the true core of this world. If we want to know the true secret of this world and we want to find the core of this dark millstone, we have to go through the Imperial Cabinet, Abysmal Saint Master concluded. Where is the location of the Imperial Cabinet, and how do we enter the Imperial Cabinet? Jian Wushuang stared at Silver-Winged God Mansion Master and asked. Silver-Winged God Mansion Master naturally answered frankly. From his reply, Jian Wushuang and the other members found out the location of the Imperial Cabinet and something about the Imperial Cabinet. We found out what we needed to find out. Silver-Winged God Mansion Master is useless now. I reckon who wouldn't find out anything new even if we asked, Jian Wushuang said. Abysmal Saint Master nodded faintly and the boundless darkness immediately formed a huge hand and hovered over Silver-Winged God Mansion Master. In an instant, Silver-Winged God Mansion Master was killed. After that, they were prepared to leave. But suddenly, oh no, Great Emperor Ji Luo's face changed. Someone barged into the space-time that was sealed off. Great Emperor, and there are more than one. Jian Wushuang, Abysmal Saint Master, Emperor Zhu Qiao were shocked. They found us so quickly. Abysmal Saint Master's face grew in distress. They are really fast, Jian Wushuang commented too. They entered Three Emperors' world through the Dark Millstone previously. As the great formation around the Dark Millstone was controlled by someone, they definitely know that someone invaded. The person should also know their rough location. It was normal that the person immediately sent experts over to kill them as well. But Jian Wushuang and his troop never expected the person would be so swift in action. They just entered Three Emperors' world not too long ago. They just obtained some useful information and found out the existence of the Imperial Cabinet. Then, their enemy already formed a group of experts to hunt them down. This speed and efficiency. Let's go. Let's leave. Abysmal Saint Master roared, then the four of them plunged out from the estate and appeared in the boundless void above. Chapter 2013 Hong Jun Golden Swords Impact. The moment they appeared in the void, Jian Wushuang instantly noticed the 5 figures charging at them. 5 great emperors? No, there are 6 of them. There is another one at the back. Jian Wushuang's eyes dilated in shock. Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo and Emperor Zhu Qiao's faces grew grave. They already knew that there were many experts in Three Emperors' world. The experts of Great Emperor level that they knew of were already as many as 12 of them. From the looks of it, the experts of Great Emperor level were more than that. Otherwise, it would be absolutely impossible for them to send 6 Great Emperors over straight away. Vroom. A blurry golden light suddenly soared from the surrounding void and covered the entire universe. T. These people came prepared. The power of the Grand Formation is exceptional. Even if the 4 of us launch a full-force hit at the Great Formation, I reckon we will only be able to break it after some time. I don't think these people will give us any chance to hit the Grand Formation, Emperor Zhu Qiao said coldly. Ji Luo, do you have any solution? Abysmal Saint Master looked at Great Emperor Ji Luo. Great Emperor Ji Luo was good at the manipulation of space-time power. In other words, she could use her manipulation of space-time power to bring them out. Sure, but he'll need some time to prepare, Great Emperor Ji Luo replied. If so, we have no choice but to fight them, Abysmal Saint Master said. Jian Wushuang's face was cold as he glared at the 6 people in front of them. The 5 people in front were fine, but the beast-like bald man at the back put him under great pressure. However, the bald man didn't seem to plan on attacking in the first instance. It was merely the 5 great emperors who were charging at them. The 5 great emperors were billowing with murderous intention as they glared at Jian Wushuang and his troop. Just as they charged over, they locked onto their respective targets. Abysmal Saint Master, who was the most powerful, was fighting against 2 great emperors. The remaining 3 great emperors were fighting one-on-one. Zi Chen, you shall take care of Sword Emperor, the old lady in a red robe assigned. No problem, the purple-haired young man with purple eyes named Zi Chen replied. The young man wore a malicious smile as he looked at Jian Wushuang. I heard that one of the most impressive skills that Sword Emperor has is Hong Jun Golden Sword. He, both parties, a total of 9 experts of Great Emperor level, instantly fought together. The moment they fought, the terrifying power swept out in all directions and shook the universe. Humph. Jian Wushuang looked cold. He gripped Blood Mountain's sword tightly with 2 hands and wielded his sword when he almost met the purple-haired young man with purple eyes. A sword light swept out. Burble. A brilliant sword river appeared from nowhere, and it was enchanting. Your swordsmanship is not too shabby. The purple-haired young man smiled and swung a stroke. The stroke left an evil purple strike in the void, just like a purple crescent moon. Dang! There was a deep clanging noise and the purple-haired young man retreated from the impact. It was obvious that Jian Wushuang had the absolute upper hand in the competition of strength. There was a sharp light shimmering in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Just as the purple-haired man retreated, swoosh, 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 swoosh. There were 5 resplendent golden lights that instantly burst out. Every one of the 5 Hongjun golden sword exploded with terrifying speed and power at the purple-haired young man. The purple-haired man smiled maliciously at the sight. He then had golden lights floating next to him as well, a total of 6. The 6 golden lights became 6 resplendent golden light and pierced the void like a lightning. The speed seemed to be slightly faster than the 5 golden lights that Jian Wushuang drove. Dang! 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 There were continuous clanging noises. The 5 Hongjun golden sword that Jian Wushuang drove collided with the 6 golden lights that burst at him ferociously. As they collided, his 5 Hongjun golden sword had the lower hand. That is. Jian Wushuang's eyes dilated in shock. He stared at the 6 golden lights controlled by the purple-haired man. Among the 6 golden lights, there were 6 golden swords. You have Hongjun golden swords too? Jian Wushuang was taken by surprise. His Hongjun golden swords were given to him by the ancient expert, Long Qi, who he met in the independent space when he was wandering in the 8th lair. Ever since he had gotten the Hongjun golden swords, they had brought great assistance to him. It was also one of his greatest skills. However, as he fought with the experts from 3 Emperor's worlds before him who also used a total of 6 swords, his opponent's Hongjun golden swords were stronger than his in terms of speed and power. He would understand if it was only faster in speed. After all, the purple-haired man was a true great emperor. His comprehension of spacetime doctrine should have reached level 9 in Doctrine Palace, which was higher than his. Hence, the speed of his Hongjun golden swords was of course faster, but the power. Jian Wushuang's power was much stronger than an ordinary great emperor's. When he exchanged blow with the purple-haired man earlier, he had already confirmed that his opponent's power was not his match. However, both of them were using Hongjun golden sword, but his opponents were stronger than his. Could it be? Jian Wushuang thought of a possibility and his heart skipped a beat. I heard that you were good with Hongjun golden swords previously and I was looking forward to fighting with you. I never expected that you were merely driving an imitation of Hongjun golden swords and you could only control 5 at once. This is so disappointing. The purple-haired man looked at him in disdain. As expected, Jian Wushuang instantly understood. He had guessed that the purple-haired man was driving genuine Hongjun golden sword. As for his own Hongjun golden swords, they were imitations. Hongjun golden swords imitations were naturally not the genuine Hongjun golden swords match. They were vastly different. It was the reason why the Hongjun golden swords driven by the purple-haired man were stronger in power than Jian Wushuang's when the purple-haired man's power wasn't Jian Wushuang's match. The imitation of Hongjun golden swords is so powerful and it is very helpful to me. If I were to get genuine Hongjun golden swords. There was a flash of greed in Jian Wushuang's eyes, but he quickly suppressed it. He was well aware that it might even be a problem for the 4 of them to leave the place in peace, let alone killing his opponent and taking his treasure on hand. Die, Sword Emperor. The purple-haired man shot a purple light from his eyes. His body was ghostly as he pulled the distance between Jian Wushuang and himself far apart. He attacked Jian Wushuang with the 6 Hongjun golden swords madly while Jian Wushuang dealt with it with his all. Although his Hongjun golden swords weren't as powerful, he could easily block the attack of the opponent's golden sword in collaboration with his close combat power. Chapter 2014 Let me deal with them. Just as Jian Wushuang and the purple-haired man were fighting, Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo, Emperor Ju Qiao were fighting with their opponents as well. None of them were exceptions. They all had the lower hand. Especially Great Emperor Ji Luo. She was against the old lady in a red robe. Her opponent used a crimson spear and the bloody aura filled the universe, and her fighting power was amazingly terrifying. To begin with, Great Emperor Ji Luo wasn't her match, but Great Emperor Ji Luo had to divert her energy to create a chance to flee during the fight. Hence, she was naturally in more trouble. Just then, the beast-like bald man who stood in the void behind him finally took action. Hong. He took one stride and his originally terrifying rage suddenly increased tremendously. The terrifying rage burst out and made Jian Wushuang's face changed. This person. Jian Wushuang immediately looked at the bald man. He felt great pressure from the bald man. Besides Emperor Bai and Emperor 13, no one else in Eternal Chaotic World could give him such pressure. Even Red Dragon King and Abysmal Saint Master, who were in the second and third place on Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list, wouldn't cause such pressure to Jian Wushuang. There was no doubt that the bald man was very powerful. As he plunged forward, he moved towards Emperor Zhu Qiao, who was the closest to him. Vroom. There was a flash of light and the bald man appeared next to Emperor Zhu Qiao. He suddenly raised his battle axe. Zhu Qiao, be careful. Jian Wushuang roared. What? Emperor Zhu Qiao's face changed. He wasn't considered strong. He was weak among great emperors. The person who he was fighting with shouldn't be weaker than Great Emperor Colored Glaze. He definitely had the lower hand when he fought with his opponent. Then, the bald man suddenly interrupted the battle. Wow! An axe shadow suddenly descended. The axe shadow was black without any sound. Such an axe shadow contained boundless extermination power. Jian Wushuang stared at the bald man and watched the axe stroke that the bald man performed clearly. It was as though he saw all living things in the boundless territories vanish into thin air under the axe. It was a scene of destruction. The axe represented extermination. The axe shadow slammed down. Although Emperor Zhu Qiao was shocked, he moved the stone rod and blocked the axe shadow. There was a loud bang. The stone rod flew off from Emperor Zhu Qiao's hand while the axe shadow continued to hit Emperor Zhu Qiao's body. Fart! Emperor Zhu Qiao spurted a mouthful of blood. His face instantly grew pale and his body started falling. With one axe stroke, Emperor God Zhu Qiao, who was a great emperor, was severely injured. Die! But the beast-like bald man took another stride forward and slashed his black battle axe once again. It was the same battle axe that contained boundless power and could destroy everything. Emperor God Zhu Qiao was already falling uncontrollably and his divine weapon had already flown off from the hit. When the battle axe slashed at him, he had no power to resist. However, right before Emperor God Zhu Qiao was going to drown by the battle axe. Swoosh! Jian Wushuang appeared before Emperor Zhu Qiao. Jian Wushuang was the closest to the battlefield that Emperor Zhu Qiao was at. Different from Abysmal Saint Master and Great Emperor Ji Luo, they were suppressed by their opponents and they couldn't free themselves from their battle. However, Jian Wushuang could fight his opponent. Hence, he immediately moved as he noticed Emperor God Zhu Qiao was in danger. Although he didn't manage to help at the first stroke, Jian Wushuang caught up when the second stroke descended. Then, Jian Wushuang held his swords in both hands and wielded them against the extermination axe shadow that was descending. You are courting death. The beast-like bald man roared and the power of the battle axe in his hand increased again. Bang! Jian Wushuang sank from the hit but he didn't spit any blood and he stopped very quickly. He blocked it. The bald man was surprised. Emperor Zhu Qiao, hurry up and run. Jian Wushuang steadied himself and let out a bellow. Then, his figure suddenly retreated to the back as well. Emperor Zhu Qiao, of course, didn't dare to hesitate anymore. To one side, Abysmal Saint Master and Great Emperor Ji Luo retreated at the same time. The four of them had lost their intention to fight. They had no choice. If there were only the 5 great emperors, the 4 of them could deal with them. But as the beast-like bald man joined the battle, the bald man was too powerful. He had injured Emperor Zhu Qiao with one attack and if Jian Wushuang hadn't gotten there in time earlier, Emperor Zhu Qiao would have been killed by the second stroke. With such a powerful fighting power joining their battles, the four of them wouldn't be able to last. However, the golden formation that covered the surrounding void was a huge problem if they wanted to flee. Ji Luo, are you not ready yet? Abysmal Saint Master asked. Already connected to the space-time in the outside world. However, I will need some time to set up a space-time tunnel, Great Emperor Ji Luo said solemnly. How long do you need? Jian Wushuang looked at her. 10 breaths, at least 10 breaths. This is presuming no one bothers me. Then, I could set it up. I had no time to set it up when I was fighting with the Great Emperor earlier, Great Emperor Ji Luo said. 10 breaths. If it was not a normal time, it was naturally short. When one's power reaches their level, 10 breaths were enough to fight for a very long time. Jian Wushuang took a look at the 6 great emperors behind and his eyes dilated. With the great formation around them, it was impossible for them to escape. The only chance was to let Great Emperor Ji Luo set up a space-time tunnel. Jian Wushuang made up his mind. Abysmal Saint Master, Emperor Zhu Qiao, the two of you help Great Emperor Ji Luo to set up the space-time tunnel. As for the 6 great emperors, let me deal with them, Jian Wushuang said and turned to charge at the 6 great emperors. What? Jian Wushuang, you? Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo and Emperor Zhu Qiao were stunned. The 3 of them set up the space-time tunnel while Jian Wushuang would block the 6 great emperors alone? How could he stop them? Is he going to use the secret skill of Star Palace? Abysmal Saint Master thought. From their point of view, Jian Wushuang would only have the power to deal with 6 great emperors at the same time if he used that trump card. However, not only was Jian Wushuang's secret skill of Star Palace his trump card, it was also a huge trump card for their expert troop. They had just entered 3 Emperors' world and he was going to use up the trump card. Chapter 2015 1 verses 6. 6 Great Emperors. Jian Wushuang's face was cold as he stared at the 6 Great Emperor with a billowing murderous intention in front of him. Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo and Emperor Zhu Qiao thought he was going to perform the secret skill of Star Palace to fight against them. But in actual fact, Jian Wushuang had never planned to do so. If he performed the secret skill of Star Palace, he might really be able to beat off the 6 great emperors. He might even kill a few of them. However, it would take a few thousand years until he could perform the skill again. He had just entered 3 Emperors' world and the danger in eternal chaotic world was just starting to be unearthed. What could they do if there was another drastic change after he performed the secret skill? There was no doubt that the secret skill of Star Palace absolutely couldn't be performed. Moreover, most importantly, the 6 great emperors had yet to corner him to that stage. Come on! Jian Wushuang roared and his roar reverberated through the universe. Jian Wushuang's body started magnifying at a terrifyingly fast speed as well. His body increased in size by 12 times and it became a 100 zhong tall giant. The giant was golden jade-skinned and there were heads and arms that extended from his body. In an instant, it had 9 heads and 18 arms. His 18 arms held a sword each. There was a burst of bloodline power. His huge figure blocked before the 6 great emperors. Ancient tribe bloodline? The beast-like bald man among the 6 great emperors recognized Jian Wushuang's bloodline in the first glance. Then, he smirked in disdain. So what if you have an ancient tribe bloodline? You are courting death if you dare to block before the 6 of us. Kill him. The beast-like bald man took the lead to attack. Rumble. The battle axe descended in heavy darkness. The battle axe slammed. It could break heaven and split the earth. The other 5 great emperors next to the bald man didn't hesitate either. They launched attacks simultaneously. There were powerful attacks flying at Jian Wushuang. Abysmal Saint Master and the other 2 members in the void behind saw the scene and they were terrified. Jian Wushuang, what is he doing? Secret skill of Star Palace, hurry up and perform secret skill of Star Palace. He has yet to perform the secret skill of Star Palace until now. Is he really thinking to fight against the 6 great emperors alone? It's impossible. It's impossible. Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo and Emperor Zhu Qiao were worried. As they watched him, Jian Wushuang, who had 9 heads and 18 arms, his 9 pairs of eyes were shimmering with coldness. His 18 arms wielded the swords. Vroom. There was a shapeless sword intention that suddenly soared, and Jian Wushuang seemed to turn into a black hole. A huge black hole that could swallow all power. In the huge black hole, his 18 swords flew out one after another. Sword Principal Xian Luo, Mixed Element Spirit. The 6 great emperors attacked at the same time, and all their attacks were fast and fierce. However, the attacks had yet to hit Jian Wushuang and were blocked by a sword. Dang, 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 dang. There were continuous clanging noises, and the attacks by the 6 great emperors were blocked by Jian Wushuang. None of the attacks hit Jian Wushuang's divine body for real. How is it possible? The 6 great emperors looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. Such a unique sword intention, the beast-like bald man was taken by surprise too. The sword principle that Jian Wushuang performed was really strange. It looked ordinary, but it blocked all their attacks. The attacks of us 6 great emperors are fierce. Even if he could block our attacks with his sword principle, the impact itself should be strong enough to injure him or even kill him. But he is completely undamaged. The purple-haired young man who drove 6 Hongjun golden swords looked shocked. Completely undamaged. Yeah, they could see clearly that although Jian Wushuang had moved backward under the strong impact of the attack when Jian Wushuang took their hits, his aura didn't grow any weaker, but his fighting power was maintained at its peak. He took my battle axe hit earlier too and he was fine. The beast-like bald man squinted his eyes and humphed coldly. Sword Emperor's divine body is strange. Let's not bother about it for now. Let's kill the other 3 persons first. Don't let them seize any chance to escape. Okay. The 5 great emperors nodded and their figures immediately plunged out. They wanted to go around Jian Wushuang and go after Abysmal Saint Master and the other 2. Jian Wushuang smirked coldly at the sight. The boundless divine power and the power of the ancient tribe bloodline swept out from his body. Ancient god secret skill, moon-picking skill. Vroom. Heaven and earth shook. The space-time around Jian Wushuang's huge divine body was affected. It instantly rumbled. The entire universe and the entire space-time mercilessly pressed down on the people within the region. The 6 great emperors felt the pressure from the surrounding space-time and their bodies were restricted. Moon-picking skill was one of the strongest secret skills of ancient god. It was extremely impressive. Especially after Jian Wushuang's breakthrough, his divine power and ancient tribe bloodline power had increased tremendously. When he performed the secret skill again, it even influenced the great emperor experts. As the 6 great emperors' bodies were pressured by the space-time, Jian Wushuang attacked again. He waved his 18 arms at the same time. Sword Principal Xian Luo, Monsterfy on will. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. There were sword lights that ignored the space-time and appeared before the 6 great emperors straight away. Fast, too fast. It was so fast that the great emperors were astonished. Sword Principal Xian Luo had 4 moves. Monsterfy on will was the stroke that focused on speed the most among the 4 moves. The stroke was performed with one's will. Although the 6 great emperors were pressured by the space-time, they were trying to get close to Abysmal Saint Master and his troops. However, they had no choice but to stop to block the sword principle as it charged at them. Now, the 6 great emperors were raging with anger. Sword Emperor, as you are really courting death, I shall fulfill your dream. Full force. Kill him first. I don't believe that we 6-peak chaotic realm and Mr. Ling Zong can't kill Sword Emperor, who is only an early stage chaotic realm. Die. The 6 great emperors were obviously provoked. From the skills that Jian Wushuang had performed, they might not be able to kill Abysmal Saint Master and his troops if they didn't kill Jian Wushuang first. Hence, there was no need for discussion among the 6 and they made a unified choice. They would use their full force to kill Jian Wushuang first. Chapter 2016 Unkillable. Hong, 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 Hong. The 6 great emperors let their power be in full play, especially the beast-like bald man who was the most powerful of all. His soaring rage was heightened to its extreme limit. He was only holding his battle axe but had yet to wield it. However, it had already concentrated into a terrifying extermination aura. The 6 of them launched attacks all together. Jian Wushuang wasn't angry at the sight. He felt delighted. Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo, Emperor Zhu Qiao, the 3 of you should seize this chance. I will hold the 6 great emperors back so that they won't interrupt you. Jian Wushuang immediately sent them a message. Now, there was madness in his eyes. Behind Jian Wushuang, Abysmal Saint Master and the other 2 great emperors were dumbfounded at the sight. They originally thought Jian Wushuang had intended to use the secret skill of Star Palace, but, hurry up, Ji Luo. Set up the space-time tunnel. Abysmal Saint Master came back to reality first and pressed them. Great Emperor Ji Luo instantly woke up and immediately started to set up the space-time tunnel at the fastest speed possible, while Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Zhu Qiao assisted her. On the battlefield, Jian Wushuang was hemmed in by 6 great emperors. Fighting against the 6 great emperors, especially the beast-like bald man's mad attack, although Jian Wushuang's mixed element spirit was magical, Jian Wushuang had just mastered it not too long ago after all. It was impossible if he wanted to fully defend himself, and it was inevitable that he would be hit. At the same time, there were attacks that contained boundless power that were constantly hitting. Jian Wushuang looked savage and there was only madness in his eyes. 10 breaths time. I only need to resist for 10 breaths time. Come on. Jian Wushuang roared and his power exploded at that very moment. He was instantly in a pitched battle against 6 great emperors. The battle was total madness. Fighting against 6 alone, and all of them were great emperors. Jian Wushuang obviously couldn't win against them. In the others' views, he was courting death. He would definitely die. But in the end, 1 breath, 2 breaths, 5 breaths of time passed. In the 5 breaths' time, Jian Wushuang and the surrounding 6 great emperors had exchanged a few hundred blows. There were more than a dozen attacks that hit Jian Wushuang directly, and every single attack made his divine body quiver. However, he was fully recovered in the very next moment. After 5 breaths' time, his aura was still soaring and his battle intention grew more intense. Die! Jian Wushuang bellowed. He knew for a fact that he wasn't their match, but his 18 arms continued to wield the swords. He tried his best to block all the attacks. The surrounding great emperors turned pale with astonishment after 5 breaths' time. How is this possible? How could his divine body be that strong? The 6 of us already hit his divine body more than a dozen times. Even Mr. Ling Zong's battle axe hit him twice. But in the end, he was perfectly fine. The 6 great emperors exclaimed in disbelief. The divine body that Jian Wushuang put on display exceeded their imaginations. They had never expected that one in early-stage chaotic realm could be perfectly fine after being hemmed in by the 6 peak chaotic realm fighters. Is he immortal? The purple-haired man with purple eyes who drove the 6 Hong Jun golden sword asked in terror. No matter how shocking it was, Jian Wushuang did survive 5 breaths' time under the besiegement, and his fighting power didn't diminish at all. He was still fighting ferociously against them. The time flew past, and in the blink of an eye, 3 breaths of time had passed. By then, 8 breaths of time had passed. If it was any other great emperor that had gone through the 8 breaths of time, he would definitely be beyond dead under such a besiegement. However, Jian Wushuang was perfectly fine. His divine body wasn't damaged at all. His aura was still at its peak. His fighting power was more powerful and the battle intention had become even stronger. Monster. The 6 great emperors said the same term together. Just then, Sword Emperor, the space-time tunnel is already set up. Let's leave. Great Emperor Ji Luo, who was in the rear void, sent Jian Wushuang a message. There was a tinge of terror in her voice. It's finally done. Jian Wushuang beamed with joy. Then, he smirked coldly and said, I don't want to play with you anymore. Just then, Jian Wushuang, who was hemmed in by the 6 great emperors, instantly shrunk his 100-jong-tall body and became an ordinary human cultivator. Simultaneously, he wanted to retreat. Want to leave? The surrounding great emperors were furious. How could they just let Jian Wushuang off the hook so easily? Just as Jian Wushuang retreated to the back, he was wearing a bantering smirk. Then, he slammed his hand down to the front. 9 province of the universe, Yang province as the seal, was called Turn Up the Cloud. Rumble. Heaven and earth quivered. There was a terrifying power that swept over like a storm. The 6 great emperors who were chasing after Jian Wushuang looked up into the sky subconsciously. They realized that there was a huge yet magnificent world of mountains and rivers appeared in the sky above. The world of mountains and rivers gave off a mysterious yet ancient aura. Then, one of the lofty continents in the world started descending. The continent was too huge and it contained a terrifyingly strong power. On the 9-province seal in River Mountain map, one was stronger than the other seal. Jian Wushuang was performing the 4th seal that could only be performed after he entered the 7th step of inverse cultivation skill, turn up the cloud. The seal, turn up the cloud, was extremely powerful. The 6 great emperors saw the descending lofty continent and they got a shock. When did he set this up? It must have been when the 6 of us were attacking him. I reckon he set this up when we were not paying attention. ****. The 6 of us were focusing on how to kill him. We couldn't care less about the others, but he set this up in silence. The 6 great emperors were astonished. But it was the truth. When Jian Wushuang was hemmed in, he looked as though he was mad, didn't care about anything, and would stop at nothing. But in actual fact, he was extremely calm. As for River Mountain map, he threw it out silently with the cover-up of his huge body. Hence, the 6 great emperors hadn't noticed at all. By the time they noticed, Jian Wushuang had already saved up enough divine power in the world of mountains and rivers to perform the 4th seal. It was also the route of retreat that Jian Wushuang had prepared for himself. The 4th seal, turn up the cloud. The seal was known to be the strongest attack that Jian Wushuang had on hand. The 6 great emperors in front of him couldn't belittle the power of the attack either. Chapter 2017 The terrifying Jian Wushuang. Rumble. A lofty continent descended. Be careful. The 6 great emperors looked solemn. I'll take care of this. The beast-like bald man took a stride forward. His body began to change the moment he walked forward. His originally human appearance turned into a beast in an instant. The beast was tall and huge, and it had human palms. He was holding a black battle axe. He instantly wielded the battle axe. It flashed past the void like a bolt of lightning. Vroom. The descending lofty continent broke from that stroke. A large amount of divine power turned into an ocean of divine power as they flowed out to fill the universe. Jian Wushuang saw and he couldn't hold back his compliment. Amazing. After that, he waved and the world of mountains and rivers in the sky became a scroll painting that fell in his hand. Then, Jian Wushuang rid along the boundless ocean of divine power and retreated. Let's go. Jian Wushuang bellowed. Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo, Emperor Ju Qian naturally didn't hesitate but instantly went into the space tunnel while Jian Wushuang followed closely behind. After the 4 of them entered the space-time tunnel, it vanished into thin air. In the void that was covered by the Golden Great Formation, the ocean of divine power finally dispersed. The 6 great emperors stood side by side. Their faces grew grave then. The 6 of us in peak chaotic realm, including Mr. Ling Zong, took action personally. But in the end, we couldn't catch the 4 of them. Forget that there were 4 of them, we couldn't even catch one. Most importantly, Sword Emperor, he is too scary. A great emperor couldn't help but say. Scary? The other great emperors became silent at that remark. That's true. He is really scary. In terms of power, any one of them could match with Jian Wushuang. Some of them might even be stronger than him. The beast-like bald man, Ling Zong, could easily suppress him. However, he could only suppress him, not kill him. Jian Wushuang's defense power was too terrifying. Under the besiegement of 6 great emperors alone, he lasted for 8 breaths' time. In the end, he wasn't even hurt. What was that? That was merely the first scary part. The second scary part was Jian Wushuang's calmness. At such a critical moment, he could still set a route of retreat for himself, but he looked as though he were prepared to face death unflinchingly. His defensive power was terrifyingly powerful, just like an unkillable monster. His mind and intelligence was like a monster's too. Such a person. The old lady in a red robe took a deep breath and continued, Hurry up and report what happened here. On top of that, be frank about Sword Emperor so they know how terrifying Jian Wushuang is. Then, remove him from the picture as soon as possible. Otherwise, he will definitely become our greatest obstacle in the future." The few other great emperors nodded simultaneously. The beast-like bald man, Ling Zong, had a savage look in his eyes. "Sword Emperor, Jian Wushuang. I remember your name and it will be merely a matter of time until you die by my hand. I will definitely kill you by myself." Lung Rushue, the savage man and the blood man sat in the boundless void. Six-Peak Chaotic Realm took action against the four great emperors from Sanctuary Alliance, but they watched the four of them escape before their eyes. "Humph! What's up with this Ling Zong?" The savage man roared and there was anger in his eyes. "We can't blame them. We took action hastily and only arranged for 6 great emperors to team up for attack. On top of that, our information is inaccurate," the Bloodman said. "Inaccurate? Were the 4 people who entered 3 emperors' world different, or were their recorded abilities different?" the savage man asked. "The recorded abilities are inaccurate," the Bloodman continued. "Of course, Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo, Emperor Zhu Qiao are as recorded in the information. Only the Sword Emperor, Jian Wushuang, was much more impressive than we imagined him to be." The Bloodman immediately shared the report from Ling Zong and his team. Six-Peak Chaotic Realm, including Ling Zong, besieged Jian Wushuang for 8 breaths of time but didn't hurt him at all. How is it possible? When the savage man heard that, he was astonished. Although it is unbelievable, Long Zong and the others have no reason to lie to us. Hence, the truth is as such, the Bloodman said. Sword Emperor's defense power is this powerful? The savage man muttered. Just then, Lung Rushue, who was seated by the side, suddenly spoke, maybe it isn't because his divine body is strong but due to another reason. Jian Wushuang was an inverse cultivator after all. An inverse cultivator is unusual and entirely different from an ordinary cultivator. He had already broken through to the 7th step of inverse cultivation skill. It might be a new skill that he just mastered. Inverse cultivator? What inverse cultivator? I have never heard about it, the savage man said with disdain. Don't belittle an inverse cultivator. Although the inverse cultivator first appeared in the First Era and didn't originate from ancient times, an inverse cultivator is scary. For example, the strongest one who is widely acknowledged in Eternal Chaotic World, Emperor Bai, is an inverse cultivator as well. As for his power, if I were to be rude, I'm afraid even Demon King would not be his match, Lung Rushue chuckled maliciously. I'm not his match? Little girl, you must be kidding. The savage man's gaze grew cold and he glared at Lung Rushue. One should know that he was a top expert from ancient times. Although he wasn't at the top of the pyramid in ancient times, he was considered one of the best. Although he was restrained in the Second Era and he couldn't put his peak power to full play, he shouldn't have been compared with Emperor Bai from the First Era. I am not joking. I have proof, Lung Rushue scoffed. Mr. Demon King, you know that Lord Fen from Holocaust Sect has been in seclusion for many years. But did you know why he is in seclusion and has yet to come out from seclusion? Why? The savaged man looked. Because, many years ago, Lord Fen fought with Emperor Bai and he was severely injured. When he returned, he had to recover in seclusion, Lung Rushue said. What? The old man was severely injured by Emperor Bai? The savage man asked in shock. Then, he asked closely, how about Emperor Bai? Chapter 2018 Escaped. Emperor Bai was perfectly fine, Lung Rushue said. How could it be? The savage man looked in disbelief. Lord Fen from Holocaust Sect was also from ancient times. In terms of power, they were compatible. But Lord Fen was severely injured by Emperor Bai and he had to recover in seclusion for so many years. Emperor Bai's power. Before Lord Fen went into seclusion, he once said that Emperor Bai was unrivaled in this era where the universe was restrained greatly. Unless there was any superb existence in the top 10 from the ancient war back then who woke up, they might stand a chance to beat Emperor Bai, Lung Rushue said. The savage man's eyes dilated in shock when he heard that. The top 10 superb existence from the ancient war? He himself would have to look up to such existence. For instance, Emperor 13 who appeared before. He didn't even have the courage to compete against him back in ancient times. Due to the restriction in the Second Era, he wasn't as fearful of Emperor 13 as before. The reason why Emperor Bai is powerful is because he is an inverse cultivator. Sword Emperor is an inverse cultivator as well. He is naturally extraordinary, Leng Rushue said. Humph, no matter how impressive Sword Emperor is, we definitely can't let him leave alive as he barged into 3 Emperor World. Although it's a pity that we didn't kill him this time, it's okay. In no time, they'll reappear again soon. By then, we will have another chance to kill them again, the Bloodman said coldly. The savage man nodded heavily. Leng Rushue seemed to be quiet and she didn't comment much, but her eyes were glistening. Jian Wushuang. Leng Rushue chanted his name in her heart. In a spacious void in 3 Emperor World. Vroom. The void was distorted and a space-time tunnel appeared out of nowhere. Then, there were 4 figures that leapt out of the space-time tunnel. The 4 figures were naturally Jian Wushuang and the other 3 great emperors. The 4 of them finally let out a breath of relief when they arrived in the void. Jian Wushuang, Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo and Emperor Zhu Qiao looked at Jian Wushuang simultaneously. There was astonishment, admiration, and gratitude across their eyes. Even Abysmal Saint Master, who harbored deep-seated resentment against Jian Wushuang, looked at him as such too. They knew clearly that it was uncertain if they could flee if it wasn't because of Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, are you really okay? Great Emperor Ji Luo couldn't help but ask. One should know that Jian Wushuang had been hemmed in by 6 great emperors for 8 breaths' time. They would have been killed long ago if they were to fight for such a long period, but Jian Wushuang, don't worry. I'm okay, Jian Wushuang smiled. He was telling the truth. His divine body was fine, but he used up some divine power. The 6 great emperors' attacks were extremely ferocious, especially the beast-like bald man. The power of his axe was powerful. When it hit Jian Wushuang, his divine body was severely injured, even after the 5 gem weakened it tremendously. However, with the perfect chaotic divine body, he could instantly recover his divine body. Hence, he looked perfectly fine all the time. But in actual fact, the earlier pitch battle wasn't easy for him either. Because he had spent almost 30% of his divine power, which equaled the amount of divine power for him to reorganize his divine body. Fortunately, the besiegement only lasted for 8 breaths of time. If it were to have been dragged on longer, his divine power would be completely used up in at most 20 breaths' time. Without divine power, his divine body couldn't be recovered in an instant. My defensive power is a little weak. Although I already have 5 gem armor, I didn't have any defensive secret skills. The immemorial celestial body. Jian Wushuang's eyes were glowing. Immemorial celestial body was the strongest defense secret skill of the ancient tribe. Once he cultivated the first volume successfully, my divine body would improve tremendously. By then, the damage that he would have when he underwent a similar besiegement would be much smaller. In other words, the divine power spent would naturally be less and the rate of survival would increase. It was a pity that he was slightly behind for the secret skill. Jian Wushuang. There was a low voice. The one who spoke was Abysmal Saint Master. Jian Wushuang looked at Abysmal Saint Master and he could see Abysmal Saint Master's expression looked rather complicated. He shared great resentment with Abysmal Saint Master. But then, it could be said that Jian Wushuang had saved Abysmal Saint Master. I, Abysmal, have never owed anyone any favor. Today, you did a favor for me. From today, no matter what happens in eternal chaotic world in the future, I will never make trouble with you, Abysmal Saint Master claimed. Oh! Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and then he nodded faintly. He had never really liked Abysmal Saint Master and they had been feuding. However, the grudges they had held against one another weren't serious. After all, Abysmal Saint Master had never really hurt him. Then, they were assigned to be in the same troop. It could be said that their lives were tied on the same string. Hence, they naturally had to lend a helping hand to one another. We just went through a ferocious battle. Let's find a place to rest up first, Jian Wushuang said. The other three great emperors nodded. During the earlier battle, Abysmal Saint Master and Great Emperor had been fine, but Emperor Zhu Qiao was severely injured. Then, the four of them had immediately found a place to rest up. Emperor Zhu Qiao shared what had happened with Emperor Bai and the other higher-ups in Sanctuary Alliance via his doppelganger. When the great emperors heard that the four of them had been attacked by 6 great emperors, they were terrified. They only relaxed when they found out that they had fled successfully. At the same time, they were astonished at the ability that Zhen Wushuang had displayed. He hadn't died even though he had been hemmed in by 6 great emperors. Besides Emperor Bai, there was no one else among the great emperors from Sanctuary Alliance who were capable of doing the same. Then, they had finally understood why Emperor Bai would pick Zhen Wushuang to join the expert troop. It was not only because he was in a lower realm and easier to carry out tasks, but it was also because his unique ability to take attacks and being unkillable were extremely useful to the expert troop. For instance, it was because of Zhen Wushuang's capability that the expert troop had headed off a disaster. Zhu Qiao, tell Abysmal Saint Master and Zhen Wushuang to take the time to visit Imperial Cabinet after you recover. The Imperial Cabinet should be where the deepest secret of the Dark Millstone is. It is highly likely that it is where the ways to control the Dark Millstone and the surrounding Great Formation are stored. Yes, Emperor Zhu Qiao nodded solemnly. Chapter 2019 Suppress. In Three Emperors' World, Zhen Wushuang and the 3 great emperors had rested for more than half a month. Zhen Wushuang's divine power had been completely recovered. As for Emperor Zhu Qiao, he had a large amount of treasure, including some extremely precious elixirs. Hence, he had almost recovered completely as well. Then, the 4 of them set out again. According to the route that we found from Silver-Winged God Mansion Master, the 4 of them departed to Imperial Cabinet straight away. From Silver-Winged God Mansion to Imperial Cabinet, the journey was quite far. The 4 of them were very careful and they wouldn't get into any trouble on the way. They didn't make any stopover, but they had used a year's time to get to their destination. This is Imperial City. The 4 of them stood in the void as they looked down at a huge city in front of them that was engulfed in a great formation. The city was located in the deepest end of the vast ocean. Its location was extremely remote. If there weren't Silver-Winged God Mansion Master route instructions, it would be difficult for the 4 of them to find the place. According to Silver-Winged God Mansion Master, Imperial Cabinet is located within the Imperial City. However, the Imperial City is a place where all elites in Three Emperors' World gather. It is widely known as a cultivation sanctuary. Every cultivator from all over Three Emperors' World would figure a way to enter the Imperial City. On top of that, any experts who are above chaotic realm level are qualified to enter the Imperial City, Great Emperor Ji Luo continued. Speaking of which, besides Zhen Wushuang, any one of us would catch the attention of any experts from Three Emperors' World as soon as we enter the Imperial City, Emperor Zhu Qiao said. The 4 of them became silent. They had found out previously that Imperial City was completely engulfed in a great formation. They could only enter the Imperial City via the ordinary entrance. However, the expert troop with 3 great emperors would definitely catch the attention of the higher-ups in Three Emperors' World if they were to enter directly. It was no different from walking right into a trap. Ji Luo, can't you think of any way to enter Imperial City? Abysmal Saint Master asked. No, Great Emperor Ji Luo shook her head and replied, if we were in Imperial City, which is within the formation, I might have been able to find a way to create a space-time tunnel that ignored the Great Formation after given time to study. But it would be impossible for me to ignore the Great Formation to enter the Imperial City. On top of that, even if I could, would you dare to enter just like that? Abysmal Saint Master was stunned. That was true. Imperial City was the supreme sanctuary in Three Emperors' World. There were countless experts within and there were definitely many great emperor-level experts. Even if they entered the Imperial City in silence, the great emperors in the city would most likely notice them. Every way doesn't work. What should we do? Unless the 3 of us stay outside and let Zhen Wushuang enter Imperial City alone? Emperor Zhu Qiao couldn't help but say. Then, Zhen Wushuang suddenly spoke, I have a solution, but the thing is, the three of you will be put to great inconvenience. I wonder if the three of you are willing to go ahead and share." The three great emperors immediately looked at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang took out Blood Mountain sword and put it before the three great emperors. "What do you think of my sword?" The three of them looked at Blood Mountain sword, and Abysmal Saint Master answered, "The sword is powerful. It could be considered extremely strong among chaotic divine treasures. I can feel that it has a great space for growth. However, what does this sword have to do with what we are talking about?" Great Emperor Ji Luo and Emperor Zhu Qiao were confused too. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. "It seems that even Abysmal Saint Master can't tell. To be frank with you, my sword is not only an attack divine weapon, it also possesses suppress power." Suppress? This sword is a suppressing treasure? The three great emperors were shocked. Suppressing treasure was extremely rare in eternal chaotic world, but it did exist. However, suppressing treasure had a unique aura and it was easily determined. Some could even tell if a suppressing treasure had any expert suppressed within. However, when Jian Wushuang took out his sword, none of them could tell or feel any suppressing power. "Sword Emperor, do you mean you want us to stay in your sword until you bring us into Imperial City?" Great Emperor Ji Luo asked. "Yes. However, it will require the three of you to go through some inconvenience. Plus, there are factors that three of you should understand. Hence, please think through it," Jian Wushuang said. The three great emperors became quiet. They, of course, understood what Jian Wushuang meant by factors. It was a suppressing treasure, and the suppressing treasure was mastered by Jian Wushuang. If Jian Wushuang were to keep them in suppressing treasure, it meant that they would be being suppressed by Jian Wushuang. Once they were suppressed, no matter how powerful they were, their lives and deaths would be controlled by Jian Wushuang. In other words, their lives would fall into the hands of Jian Wushuang temporarily. If it were during normal times or under circumstances in which they had other solutions, the three great emperors would definitely not agree. But then, yes, as soon as we can destroy the Dark Millstone, it is nothing to be inconvenienced temporarily, Great Emperor Ji Luo said. "I am willing," Emperor Zhu Qiao nodded. The two of them trusted Jian Wushuang. Firstly, they were from the same team and they had come to Three Emperors' World to fight for life in eternal chaotic world. Secondly, Jian Wushuang had blocked 6 great emperors alone to create an opportunity for them to flee. In other words, he had saved them earlier. Their lives were saved by Jian Wushuang. It was nothing to hand their lives into Jian Wushuang's hand temporarily. The two great emperors agreed and they then looked towards Abysmal Saint Master. Abysmal Saint Master was different from them after all. The two of them didn't share any resentment with Jian Wushuang and Jian Wushuang absolutely wouldn't harm them. But as for Abysmal Saint Master, I agreed. Abysmal Saint Master lifted his head and there was determination in his eyes. At the same time, he looked Jian Wushuang in his eyes and said, "Jian Wushuang, I believe that you will consider the overall situation." Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. "Don't worry. If we were in eternal chaotic world and there wasn't any danger, I might have an idea in my head. But now, there's no benefit to me if you die." Millimeter, Abysmal Saint Master nodded heavily. He understood it well too. "As the three of you have decided, I shall start." "Please do not resist," Jian Wushuang said. The three great emperors took a deep breath and stood there in silence. They saw Jian Wushuang's sword transform into a lofty mountain and press at them. Chapter 2020 in Imperial City. The three great emperors didn't fight back. Hence, they were naturally suppressed into Blood Mountain Sword easily. When you are in Blood Mountain Sword, you can still communicate with me through consciousness. You will also be able to see whatever happens in the outside world as well. Jian Wushuang communicated with the three great emperors in Blood Mountain Sword. "Jian Wushuang, your sword is very unique. Not only is its attack fierce, its suppressing power is not too shabby. How did you find this?" Abysmal Saint Master asked. "About this, I can't tell you," Jian Wushuang didn't share. His body suddenly quivered and the muscles all over his body bulged. His body became much stubbier. As his muscles billowed, His skin grew tanned and he gave out a manly vibe. At the same time, Jian Wushuang's muscles started growing as well. After a short while, Jian Wushuang's appearance had changed entirely. A scrawny, young-looking man who looked cold suddenly became a brawny man who kept a beard and was messy. He was wearing ordinary clothing as he wore a malicious smile. On top of that, he put his sword away into his Chen Kuan ring and he was wearing a pair of red gloves. Even the aura on his body changed tremendously and became unusually furious. He was just like a volcano that had accumulated boundless power. It was as though he would explode any time. Haha. I reckon no one will recognize me like this. Jian Wushuang laughed and his laughter sounded furious too. The three great emperors in Blood Mountain Sword were surprised, but they understood the intention of Jian Wushuang's actions. He naturally wouldn't say much. When all the preparations had been finished, Jian Wushuang departed to the huge city engulfed in the Great Formation. At the magnificent entrance of the imperial city, there were dozens of soldiers in dark armor guarding it. Even though they were merely soldiers guarding the city entrance, all of them had reached the level of a chaotic real god. A chaotic real god could be the monarch of a holy kingdom in eternal chaotic world. However, in the supreme sanctuary of Three Emperors World, Imperial City, a chaotic real god was only a soldier who guarded that city entrance. Swoosh! A brawny figure that gave out a furious aura plunged from the void afar and arrived before the Imperial City's gate. The brawny figure appeared and there were instantly a few soldiers who came forward. Stop! The leading soldier raised his hand. Stop! How dare you block my road? Are you sick of living? The brawny figure, which was Jian Wushuang, glared like a lion eyeing his prey. The few soldiers' faces instantly grew grave and they looked shocked. Before they said anything, there was an elder in a grey robe who flew out from Imperial City. I am Mo Su. I wonder who you are. The elder in a grey robe behaved rather humbly in the beginning. I don't care who you are. Hurry up and move aside. Don't block my way to enter the city. Jian Wushuang behaved barbarously. Aren't you too rude? You don't care about your identity. The elder in a grey robe, Mo Su, looked to be in distress. Hihi, I don't care about my identity. What does that have to do with you? Jian Wushuang scoffed. I'm guessing you're here for the first time, right? The elder in the grey robe looked at him. So what if I am? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. You have something you don't know about. Whoever enters the Imperial City has to declare his identity clearly and he has to pay a fee. The rule is set up by the higher-ups in Imperial Cabinet. No one can go against it, the elder in a grey robe said. Is it so? The old folks in Imperial Cabinet are so troublesome, Jian Wushuang replied impatiently, forget it. My name is Osho, which means beast. As for my origins, I do not belong to any sect or cult. I do not belong to any family either. There's just me, myself and I see. It turns out that you are a solo expert with no background. The elder in a grey robe stole a glance at Jian Wushuang with disdain. Write down a record. You can enter after you pay the entrance fee. Jian Wushuang didn't hesitate. He had already killed 2 experts in 3 Emperor Worlds, Tian Xingzi and Silver-Winged Mansion Master. Hence, he had enough resources and currency. After that, he walked into Imperial City straight away. We're in. After they entered the Imperial City, Jian Wushuang was filled with excitement. He started looking around. The 3 great emperors in Blood Mountain Sword saw everything as well. There were countless huge pavilions and palaces towering in the void. On top of that, there was a walkway paved using divine power purely, which looked exactly like a normal street. It was merely a huge city that was more magnificent than an ordinary city. Most importantly, the cultivator's standard was absolutely the highest among all cities that Jian Wushuang had seen. The weakest one there was at least a real god, a chaotic real god. As for almighties in chaotic realm, they were all over the place. Jian Wushuang could feel the obscure aura in the nearby void. The aura had to belong to experts of great emperor level in the city. Millimeter, that is. Jian Wushuang suddenly lifted his gaze to look at the very end of the road. There was a dim grey light that was dome-shaped. It was actually a formation and it covered a huge territory. In Imperial City, there is still an area that is covered in formation? Jian Wushuang was surprised. This should be Imperial Peak that Silver-Winged Mansion Master was talking about. According to what he had said, Imperial City is merely where the elites of 3 emperors gather. Any expert who reaches the level of Chaotic Realm or Chaotic Real God who has a backer can enter Imperial City. However, it doesn't apply to Imperial Peak, Abysmal Saint Master said in Blood Mountain Sword. Imperial Peak is the core of the Imperial City. Imperial Cabinet on top of Imperial Peak. They have the best cultivation resources in 3 Emperors' world. However, as they are limited resources, there are not many people who can enter Imperial Peak. One is required to reach a certain level to enter Imperial Peak. Jian Wushuang understood. In other words, the Imperial City was like Thunderbolt Island in Eternal Chaotic World. There were countless opportunities on Thunderbolt Island, but the 16 Precious Fairy Palace would require a token of the Fairy Palace's legacy to enter. Imperial City was the cultivation sanctuary of 3 Emperors' world. Due to cultivation resources, it also required one to fulfill certain criteria before entering. Chapter 2021 The Bar Fi. It's a pity that we were in a rush when we interrogated Silver-Winged Mansion Master. We didn't find out the requirements to enter Imperial Peak, Abysmal Saint Master said. It's okay. We can ask around. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly and his gaze was fixed on a bar in front of him. There were bars in any city and the same applied in Imperial City. The brawny man that Jian Wushuang took the form of had already walked to the bar. Jian Wushuang casually sat at a table after he entered the bar. He didn't care if there was anyone else there but shouted, "Waiter, Mr." A waiter in black working in the bar quickly came next to Jian Wushuang. The waiter in black was also a chaotic real god. "Give me your best alcohol," Jian Wushuang demanded. Yes, the waiter in black waved and there was a pot of alcohol that appeared on Jian Wushuang's table. "Enjoy, mister." Then, the waiter in black turned to leave. "Don't be in a hurry to leave. I have something to ask you." Jian Wushuang stopped the waiter in black from leaving. "Mister, how can I help you?" The waiter in black behaved rather humbly. He could tell that Jian Wushuang was an expert above Chaotic Realm. Naturally, Jian Wushuang wasn't someone he could afford to offend. "It is my first time here in Imperial City. I heard that there's this place called Imperial Peak in Imperial City. It is a cultivation sanctuary. I want to get there. I wonder what the prerequisites are?" Jian Wushuang asked. "Oh, just about this." The waiter in black raised his eyebrows and answered, "Mister, there are 2 ways to get to Imperial Peak. First, reach a certain level in power and become a deacon in Imperial Cabinet. However, the deacon in Imperial Cabinet is normally taken charge of by experts above the middle stage Chaotic Realm. Tell me the second way." Jian Wushuang waved. He was merely in early stage Chaotic Realm. If he were to display the fighting power of one in middle stage Chaotic Realm, it would catch people's attention. The second way is easier. Every century, the Imperial City will have a ranking competition. The competition is carried out on 2 levels. One is Chaotic Real God level and the other is for experts like yourself, early stage Chaotic Realm. Regardless of who you are, as long as you can be in the top 5 in the ranking competition that is held every 100 years, you will be qualified to enter Imperial Peak for cultivation. As for how long you can stay in there, it depends on your performance in Imperial Peak. For example, geniuses who are extremely gifted, they could stay and cultivate in Imperial Peak. When they leave, they will already have joined Imperial Cabinet and became the top experts in Imperial Cabinet, the waiter in black said. "I see." Jian Wushuang was tempted. The second way to enter via ranking competition was extremely workable for him. "Let me ask you, how long is it until the next ranking competition?" Jian Wushuang asked. "It's close. It has been 95 years since the previous ranking competition. There are only 5 years left until the next ranking competition begins," the waiter in black answered. 5 years. Jian Wushuang nodded in silence. The ranking competition had just ended not long ago and it required another 100 years until the competition came, He definitely wouldn't wait for it. However, he could afford to wait if it was only 5 years away. Then, Jian Wushuang broke into a smile. He grabbed the waiter in black by his collar and spoke into his ear. I am going to give you a reward. There are many cultivation resources in this Chen Kuan ring. I'm giving them to you. Go and prepare everything for me. I want to join the ranking competition in 5 years' time. Yes, thank you, mister. The waiter in black was thrilled in excitement after he took the Chen Kuan ring. He nodded politely and asked, "How do I address you, mister?" "Ima Shou, which represents a beast." Jian Wushuang roared and his voice resounded in the bar. There were many other cultivators in the bar. They heard Jian Wushuang roar and many creased their eyebrows, but they didn't bother. On the table next to him, there was a lady in green that scoffed, "Shou? What kind of a silly man would name himself that?" There was a handsome young man in a white robe who sat opposite the lady in green. He chuckled and replied, "Should be someone who came in from some remote areas. Look at him. He has no experience in life. He didn't even know the prerequisites to enter Imperial Peak." The two of them chatted casually. Although they lowered their voices, how could Jian Wushuang not hear it with his power? Jian Wushuang immediately put on a savage look and stared at the two of them. "You two sons of a B** keys, what are you talking about? Do you think I can't hear you?" The faces of the young man and the lady in green changed. Son of a B** tch had obviously offended them. Shou, right? The handsome young man stood up and he stared at Jian Wushuang with his malicious gaze. "I am from Lin family in Prefecture Tong, Lin Tianhao. This is my godsister, from Saitu family in Prefecture Tong. What you said earlier. If you were to kowtow and apologize now, the two of us would let you off the hook. Otherwise what?" Jian Wushuang smirked. His smirk was as cold as a sharp blade. "Whatever Lin family, Saitu family, I have never heard of them. Don't bring up all these family names to scare me. None of these family names matter to me. You have guts. If so, don't blame me." The handsome young man, Lin Tianhao, immediately turned illusionary. Lin Tianhao took action in the bar straight away. Hong. Lin Tianhao's aura was churning. He was an expert in chaotic realm and also only in early stage chaotic realm. His aura was intense and his divine power was pure. He was obviously much stronger than an ordinary cultivator in early stage chaotic realm. Just as his figure grew illusionary, his right hand stretched forth his palm and waved. The divine power instantly burst out. "Haha, just in time." Jian Wushuang let out a burst of hearty laughter. He was fearless, but he took a step forward and raised his hand to punch ferociously. Jian Wushuang, of course, intentionally reserved some strength. Even so, the power of the punch was enough for a top Sir God to take him seriously. Bang! The collision of both parties caused a deep thud. As they were in the bar and they were in Imperial City, both parties controlled their divine power during the attack. They didn't let the divine power spread, nor did they destroy the bar. They didn't even break any tables or chairs. Humph! Lin Tianhao humphed and his palm suddenly became red. Chapter 2022 put on a full show. Lin Tianhao smacked his red palm a few times. He could control his divine power so that the power wouldn't spread, but the mighty power that the palm brought about was terrifying. Jian Wushuang felt as though he was a volcano exploding continuously. Haha, interesting. Jian Wushuang let out a burst of hearty laughter as his hands were covered with a layer of redness. The very next moment, there was an unprecedented rage that spread from Jian Wushuang's body. King of Beasts' divine punch, first move. Roar. There was a faint roar and a shadow of a ferocious beast appeared behind Jian Wushuang out of nowhere. His punch brought about the power of a thunderbolt and hit. As he wanted to pretend to be a barbaric, valiant man who was good with his fists, Jian Wushuang had naturally intentionally studied some punch skills intensively. He had been wandering in eternal chaotic world for so many years and he received various secret skills. Among them, there were many punch skills. Jian Wushuang found one that was not too shabby and suitable for his barbaric character, which was King of Beasts' divine punch. There were 27 moves in the punching skill. Second move. Third move. A punch followed by another. He continuously punched and he intentionally controlled the divine power contained in every single punch. However, he still managed to pierce the spacetime with ease. Jian Wushuang's barbaric punches collided with Lin Tianhao's volcanic palms. In an instant. Bang! 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 The low thud resounded in everyone's ears. Under such strong attacks, both intentionally controlled their divine powers but still caused quite a significant movement. Both of them exchanged blows in an instant, in one breath time. Stop! There was a loud roar from outside the bar. Jian Wushuang and Lin Tianhao immediately stopped. Swoosh! There was a figure that appeared in the bar in a flash. The figure appeared right in between Jian Wushuang and Lin Tianhao. He was a white-haired elder who went through the transformation of the world. His long, white beard reached above his chest and there was rage in his murky eyes. The two of you have guts. How dare you fight so ferociously in Imperial City? The elder was angry and his boundless divine might spread. His divine might already reach the level of a peak emperor god, also the top of middle stage chaotic realm. Looking at the arrival of the elder, Jian Wushuang remained casual in manner but he was actually shocked. Lin Tianhao and I fought for less than a breath of time. On top of that, we could control our divine power for the movement to be even smaller. But in such a short period of time, there was a peak emperor god that rushed here. Plus, I also felt a faint soul power sweep over earlier. I believe there is a great emperor who noticed the situation here. Jian Wushuang was astonished. He was astonished at how strict the guard in Imperial City was. The reason why he had intentionally provoked Lin Tianhao and fought with him was that he wanted to test the actual situation in Imperial City. But the result was far beyond his expectations. The guard in Imperial City itself is so strict. As the core of Imperial City, Imperial Peak where Imperial Cabinet was located, how much stricter could it be? Under such high alert, wouldn't he be noticed as soon as Jian Wushuang did anything? In the bar, many customers stood up simultaneously out of curiosity. In the middle of the bar, the elder was raging with anger. Jian Wushuang said casually, "It has nothing to do with me. This started it. I can't just stand here and let him hit me." The elder squinted his eyes and fixed his gaze on the waiter in black. The waiter in black had been standing to the side earlier. He watched the cause of the ferocious fight very clearly. He immediately replied, "Mr. Deacon, it is true that this mister took action first." The elder then cast a reprimanding gaze at Lin Tianhao. Lin Tianhao took a deep breath and bowed at the elder politely. He then said, "Mr. Deacon, I am Lin Tianhao, from Lin family in Prefecture Tong." From Lin family? The elder's face changed. In Three Emperors' world, there were many strong forces and families, especially families. Some ancient families were powerful and influential within Imperial Cabinet. For instance, Lin family was one of them. Although Lin family didn't have any peak chaotic realm leader, they had more than 4 experts in peak middle stage chaotic realm. 3 out of 4 of them were holding important posts in the Imperial Cabinet. Some might hold an even higher position than he did. Humph, even if you are a disciple from Lin family, you do not behave like a rascal in Imperial City, the elder humphed coldly. But it was obvious that his tone was much calmer. Yes, I'll remember that, Lin Tianhao nodded continuously. All right. If both parties are fine, this ends here. Dismiss yourselves. The elder waved and then left. The bar became quiet again. Only Jian Wushuang and Lin Tianhao were left standing there. "Our show, right? I remember you. You're lucky this time. You wouldn't be that lucky next time. Aren't you joining the ranking competition in 5 years' time? I happen to be joining that too. By then, I won't let you off the hook," Lin Tianhao said coldly. "Ha. Come on. I'll be ready to fight with you," Jian Wushuang scoffed. Then, he grabbed the waiter in black next to him. "You, take me to somewhere to stay." Yes. The waiter in black naturally followed his command. In no time, Jian Wushuang came to a secret room under the lead of the waiter in black. Although the surroundings of the room were covered in a layer of prohibition and ordinary people wouldn't just come in as they wish. Jian Wushuang wouldn't let the three of them out just in case. Jian Wushuang, aren't you asking for too much attention in Imperial City? Abysmal Saint Master creased his eyebrows and said. The three of them saw what had happened earlier. Jian Wushuang did catch a lot of attention as he was too barbaric. However, Jian Wushuang laughed at the comment, as I am acting, I have to put on a full show. On top of that, the experts in Three Emperors World know that we barged in, they will definitely be on high alert. Especially in Imperial City, they will definitely keep watch of every new expert. I am an expert in early stage chaotic realm who came to Imperial City. I reckon there will be someone already watching me the moment I enter the city. If I were to be extra careful in Imperial City, the experts in Imperial Cabinet would pay more attention or even be suspicious of me. Now that I behaved barbarically, the experts in Imperial Cabinet won't be that suspicious of me instead. Chapter 2023 Ranking Competition. You're right, Abysmal Saint Master and the other great emperors nodded in agreement. The experts on the highest rank in Imperial Cabinet were definitely paying attention to the unknown experts, especially those who were extremely careful and afraid to be in the limelight. Hence, it made sense if he did exactly the opposite. Imperial Peak is the core of Imperial City. We have to figure out a way to get into Imperial Peak. However, the ranking competition is 5 years away. We can only wait 5 years, Jian Wushuang said. If it's only for 5 years. We can afford to wait, Abysmal Saint Master and the other two great emperors said. Then, they started waiting patiently. The three great emperors continued to stay in Blood Mountain Sword but never came out. On the other hand, Jian Wushuang utilized the 5 years to cultivate the immemorial celestial body. Immemorial celestial body would definitely be useful to Jian Wushuang if he cultivated it successfully. 5 years passed by very quickly as he cultivated. Mr. The waiter in black from the bar entered the secret room with Jian Wushuang's permission. It's time for the ranking competition. I'll take you there now. All right, lead the way. Jian Wushuang let out a burst of hearty laughter. Jian Wushuang soon arrived at a huge independent space under the lead of the waiter in black. Mr. The ranking competition among experts in early-stage chaotic realm will be carried out in this independent space. This is your identity token. The waiter in black passed Jian Wushuang a token. Thank you. Jian Wushuang smiled and then stepped into the independent space. The independent space was boundless. It wouldn't even be a problem for a few experts in peak chaotic realm to fight in there, let alone the cultivators of the early-stage chaotic realm. There were many cultivators in the independent space and every one of them were experts in early-stage chaotic realm. There were more than 100 people in one glance. Haha, it's quite busy here. Jian Wushuang stepped into the independent space and let out a burst of hearty laughter. His laughter reverberated through the entire independent space and the experts in the space looked at Jian Wushuang. When they saw Jian Wushuang, whose aura was ferocious as a beast's, the experts looked surprised. Who is this? I have never seen him before. No idea. He should be an expert who just came to Imperial City not too long ago. Hee. I know this person. His name is Osho. He isn't famous in Three Emperors World. It is his first time in Imperial City. However, he is barbaric in nature. I heard that he fought with Lin Tianhao from Lin family the moment he entered Imperial City. Both of them fought too. Many people immediately looked at the handsome Lin Tianhao the moment they heard that. Lin Tianhao joined the ranking competition too. Then, he was standing next to the lady in green. When he noticed Jian Wushuang's arrival, there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. This B***starred is such a show-off, Lin Tianhao muttered. Don't worry about him. He is so silly. He wouldn't even know if he died, the lady in green said. Humph, don't let me fight against him later. Otherwise. Lin Tianhao's gaze grew even colder. Although the ranking competition in Imperial City happened every once in 100 years, only the top 5 were allowed to enter Imperial Peak. However, there were too many cultivators in Three Emperors World who wanted to enter Imperial Peak. Hence, It was the reason why it would stir up a ferocious commotion during the ranking competition every 100 years. Swoosh! Suddenly, there were a few figures that appeared in the independent space. The leading person had white hair and a white beard. He was the elder that stopped Jian Wushuang and Lin Tianhao from fighting last time. The elder was a deacon in Imperial Cabinet and he was hosting the ranking competition that day. Everyone is almost here. Let's begin. The elder looked around and his voice bright and clear. The rules for this ranking competition are the same as before. It will be segregated into 2 parts. The first round of competition would be the elimination round. Your opponent is him. The elder waved and a brawny figure in silver armor appeared in the independent space. The brawny figure looked stoned and there were no emotions in his eyes. He obviously wasn't a human cultivator. This is a Dao soldier. Jian Wushuang's eyes dilated in shock. He, of course, recognized the brawny figure. He was very familiar with it. The silver armor and the unique aura, it was obviously a Dao soldier from ancient times. It was a silver-armored Dao soldier. Under normal circumstances, the power of silver-armored Dao soldiers was Emperor God level. In other words, middle-stage chaotic realm level. It was stronger than the cultivators from early-stage chaotic realm at the scene. However, Dao soldier didn't know any killing tactics. Hence, its fighting power was far behind a middle-stage chaotic realm expert. What you need to do is take turns to attack. Within 10,000 miles range, fight with this Dao soldier for more than 10 breaths without being defeated. Then, you will be qualified to enter the second round. The elder waved and there was a region engulfed in purple light cover around the silver-armored Dao soldiers. The region was about 10,000 miles. Then, everyone's expressions grew solemn. Most of them wouldn't care if they had to fight with silver-armored Dao soldier. As long as they were smart enough to not fight head-on with the silver-armored Dao soldier but deal with it via their speed and flexibility, anyone could last for 10 breaths against the silver-armored Dao soldier. However, the difficulty became more intense when they were limited to 10,000 miles. Within 10,000 miles, it would be hard for the experts in early-stage chaotic realm to perform their speed and skills. In short, they would be on the defensive during their fight against the silver-armored Dao soldier. Let's begin. Come to the front when I call your name. The elder didn't explain much and started reading names. The first one was a lady in red who used a red sickle as her weapon. Her power wasn't considered to be as weak among early-stage chaotic realm. However, there was too much restriction within 10,000 miles. Her speed couldn't be put to play at all. In the end, she only lasted for 6 breaths of time and she was defeated by the silver-armored Dao soldier. The second one was worse. He only lasted for 3 breaths. The third and fourth ones failed too. Until the 5th person, he barely lasted 10 breaths against the silver-armored Dao soldiers after putting all his skills to play. Restricted within 10,000 miles. Many people couldn't perform their skills. It is too difficult to last 10 breaths of time against the silver-armored Dao soldiers. There are 100 people but I'm afraid there might not even be 1/3 of them who could pass the first round, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. Chapter 2024 Brutal. As expected, as the cultivators went ahead one after another, there was hardly anyone who could last for 10 breaths in the fight against silver-armored Dao soldiers. Among the 3 to 4 contestants, there was only one who passed the first round. The time flew past. In the blink of an eye, the silver-armored Dao soldiers had already fought with more than half of the contestants. Next, our show. The elder called. "Ha, it's finally my turn." Jian Wushuang let out a burst of hearty laughter. Before everyone's gaze, he walked forward. Everyone focused their attention on Jian Wushuang. Because Jian Wushuang's aura was so powerful, they can't belittle him. Jian Wushuang came before the silver-armored Dao soldiers and he felt the prohibition of the 10,000 miles range. "Begin," the elder said. The silver-armored Dao soldiers didn't hesitate and rushed out. Then, Jian Wushuang smiled maliciously without fear. He charged out fiercely as well. What is this guy doing? The surrounding spectators were surprised. Everyone knew that Dao soldier was powerful. Hence, No one would opt to fight a ferocious fight against the silver-armored Dao soldier head-on. They would normally rely on their own skills to drag the silver-armored Dao soldier on. It would be enough if they could drag them on for 10 breaths of time. Jian Wushuang was the first who charged at the silver-armored Dao soldier and obviously wanted to fight it head-on. "Take my punch!" Jian Wushuang bellowed, and there was a bolt of divine power that soared in his hand and became a huge fist. The silver-armored Dao soldiers punched ferociously too. Both parties fought head-on without any patterns. Bang! There was a low thud. Jian Wushuang took one step back from the impact from the collision of the terrifying power, but the silver-armored Dao soldiers didn't move at all. D***mn. This thing's punch is tough. However, I am not afraid of anyone's punch. Jian Wushuang raged furiously, and there was boundless anger in his eyes. King of Beasts' divine punch, roar. There was a faint roar, and there was a shadow of a huge beast that appeared from nowhere behind Jian Wushuang. His punch brought about a hit as powerful as a thunderbolt. One punch was followed by another. Every punch contained the power that shook all cultivators at the scene. The silver-armored soldier had no emotions but only knew to punch ferociously against Jian Wushuang. Bang! 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 There was a continuous collision of punches that reverberated in the independent space. There was a large amount of power that dispersed in all directions and caused a huge movement after every collision. Jian Wushuang also fought ferociously against the silver-armored Dao soldier. The people who were watching the fight looked dumbfounded. This person is so powerful. How dare he fight against silver-armored Dao soldiers with punches and strength? He didn't have the lower hand at all. With that in itself, he should be in the top 10 among the contestants in this ranking competition. Not only is he powerful, he is terrifyingly fierce and brutal. Yeah, brutal. The surrounding people nodded simultaneously. The vibe that Jian Wushuang gave was too brutal. It was so brutal that it struck fear in the others. He was simply a war chariot that elbowed and jostled its way around. He wasn't a person anyone wanted to offend. As Jian Wushuang fought with the silver-armored Dao soldiers, 10 breaths of time passed. The silver-armored Dao soldiers stopped. Although Jian Wushuang was still soaring with battle intention, he stopped too. Jian Wushuang then exited the 10,000 miles range. He exited and glanced at the other cultivators. He then broke into a smirk, a bunch of puss *s. What are you looking at? Are you afraid of me now? If you are, admit defeat if you plan to go against me in the second round. Then, I won't have to beat you up. If you don't surrender, I will defeat all of you one by one. Then, Jian Wushuang walked to the side arrogantly. Although the cultivators looked upset, no one stood against him. The power that Jian Wushuang had put on display was amazing. There were very few of them who were confident in winning against him. Among the crows, the handsome Lin Tianhao and the lady in green stood side by side. Then, a young man in purple robe walked over. Brother Tianhao, where does this show come from? How could he be this powerful and he could fight head-on with the silver-armored Dao soldiers? There are so many unknown experts in Three Emperors' world. Who knows where this reckless B***** comes from? Lin Tianhao replied in disdain. Brother Tianhao, you fought with this show before. What do you think of his power? The young man in purple robe continued to ask. He is quite powerful. His punch skills are okay. That's all I know. After all, I only fought with him for a short instant. I didn't put all my skills to play. As for if he used all his skills, I am not sure myself, Lin Tianhao replied. I see, the young man in purple robe nodded faintly. He looked at Jian Wushuang with a tinge of fear in his eyes. This show is so brutal and he is so terrifyingly powerful. I hope that I won't have to go up against him in the second round. The ranking competition continued. After Jian Wushuang, there was quite a number of cultivators that fought against the silver-armored Dao soldiers, including the handsome Lin Tianhao. Among the 100 experts in early-stage chaotic realm that joined the ranking competition, Lin Tianhao was among the few on the top. He could be said to be one of the few strongest experts. It was not surprising that he passed the first round. The first round of ranking competition ended very quickly. There were originally over 100 cultivators, but it was left with only 36 people left after the first round of the ranking competition. Among the 36 contestants, they had to fight for the 5 quotas. The rules for the second round was very easy. They would fight one-on-one after drawing lots. When the 9 final candidates were sifted out, there would be a rotation battle. Then, they could decide on the 5 strongest candidates. After drawing lots, the elder announced the first pair of opponents. The opponent that Jian Wushuang was going against in the first battle was Qiu Ming. Jian Wushuang looked around and saw the man in a purple robe who was standing next to Lin Tianhao. "He is my first opponent." Jian Wushuang scoffed. The man in a purple robe looked distressed. He had been praying hard to not go up against Jian Wushuang earlier. But the moment the second round commenced, he was allocated to fight against Jian Wushuang. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,